Good evening, everybody. I am very, very tired, but we should be good for a full-length stream. I did get some coffee on my way home, so hopefully I will perk up a little bit. My last couple of days at work have been like tricky, but not as bad as the start of the week. So I am expecting next week to suck. But we'll deal with that when that happens. And I think unless there's a big dramatic turnaround today, and maybe this is a good time for me to remind people that if you would like to see more Rogue Trader, particularly on the live streams, or just more of it in general, it would be a really good time to let me know, because I think where I have settled here, if this stream is a bit like the last couple, I think I'm going to divide my attention between Zephon and Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop for the next little while. Now that's gonna Uncle Chop's is I'm making some assumptions in terms of what kind of energy and attention I'm going to be able to put towards it. Mind you, I guess the same could be said for Zephon. But I do want to be clear, that doesn't mean I'm ruling out Rogue Trader forever, but it's maybe one that hasn't had a major advocate for it, let's say. And so the idea of sort of spending 3 streams a week focused on this CRPG when I can do other CRPGs or other genres entirely, it's making me sort of think that maybe I want to calibrate a little bit better. But like I said, first of all, I really don't like the idea of starting games and not finishing them. I know that is something that people have expressed disappointment in previously. Mind you, people have also said that they like it when sort of they find new things on the stream, and I think it's fair to say it's been a while since I've introduced people into new games, so there's trade-offs there as well. I guess Zephon's one of those. But anyway, just a thought. I don't want to, never say never. I like this game. I can see myself spending some of my own time on it, which makes me think that would make it good for a YouTube series. But the idea for those of you that would like to have something where you're coming to the stream and you're seeing this on a more regular basis, or just regular updates on YouTube or something like that, I haven't gotten a big signal that is something that people want to see more than other things I could be doing. And so with that in mind, I'm going to maybe try and recalibrate and put a bit more variety in terms of the stuff that I'm covering for the next little bit. But we are going to be focusing on the game today, so let's just go to our quest log and see. We've got probably Electrodynamic Cenobium is the next place I want to check out. Yes. Okay, I lied. The Vizier of the Bloodspun Web has invited the Rogue Trader to visit the cult's temple, which lies somewhere in the depths of the Void Ship. However, the hallowed cradle of death will only reveal itself to one who has walked in the footsteps of Saint Ariane, the matriarch spider. The death cultists have pointed out where on the lower decks the path of the matriarch spider began, the freight line. Thus, it must likewise serve as the starting point on the Lord Captain's journey to the Temple of Death. Every ship of the Imperium has shrines. This is where the servants of the Ecclesiarchy watch over the purity of the crew's faith and fortify its members' spirits on journey after journey through the dark corners of the galaxy where unthinkable horrors lurk. All right, Kabbalah. Blade Dancer. High agility. don't really know what her abilities are. Hmm. You can kind of see, I'm not reading all that. I am slightly inclined towards athletics here. But I did notice that it was putting some points towards Medicaid as well. You know what, let's go on the Medicaid just because of the... Holy crap, I've got a lot of levels here. Okay. Blade in his hand. Sword deal an additional 5. I mean, you know what? Let's just start with that. Don't even know what Death Waltz does. Upon using Death Waltz, Blade Dancer immediately heals to full. The cost of abilities... Ah, okay. I should have been... Yeah. Who knows? Maybe some of those were even the right decision. Hang on. This isn't where I want to be. A void ship is like a city unto itself, inhabited by thousands of people, most of whom are disenfranchised rabble, providing an easily replaceable workforce. The common folk's only mission in life is to toil away in the name of the flagship's insatiable demands. Doc Fenrose, a sturdily built man with an augmented jaw, stands at attention. The dark circles under his eyes speak to many sleepless nights, but his voice is loud and spirited. Welcome to Freight Hub LD-987A14, Lord Captain. I am Educt Fenrose, Captain of the Enforcers in Lower Deck Bay LD-A14. The Master-at-Arms has assigned me to be your liaison for the duration of your stay here. Lord Captain, would you like to inspect the control room, or to begin your search for the Temple of the Bloodspun Web? He says the last part with obvious concern. Just thinking about the prospect of walking around the lower decks wounds your refined senses. Your mind conjures vivid images of filth and poverty hanging in the air, seeping out of every crack, gnawing their way through your skin. It seems that you were prepared for my visit. How did you and Sauerbeck know I was coming now? The Master-at-Arms ordered us to be on standby after the Bloodspun Web openly invited you to visit their temple. We have been awaiting your arrival every day since then, Lord Captain. I'm here to inspect the entire compartment. I'm curious to see how people on the lower decks live. Fenrose glances at you warily. As you will, Lord Captain. Still, out of concern for your safety, I must warn you that you should avoid the furthest sections of the bay. They are ridden with disease, and the locals can be particularly unpleasant to deal with. With all the kind of riffraff that dwells there, you might even be attacked. He frowns. To put it bluntly, although the bay performs its functions well, even its more civilized sections are sorely lacking in discipline. I was only assigned recently, so I haven't had time to straighten everything up, since doing so will require making some serious changes. I am not inventing excuses, Lord Captain. As the officer in charge, I accept full responsibility for what takes place in the compartment. Being assigned here almost seems like exile. Did you commit an infraction? Fenrose shakes his head fiercely. No, Lord Captain, quite the opposite. I was commended for my service. This compartment has always been a troublesome one, and the Master-at-Arms assigned me here because she thought highly of my merits. I am honored to have earned Mistress Sauerbeck's trust. What do the lower deck officers think of Jocasta Sauerbeck? Mr. Sauerbeck possesses all the personal and professional qualities required to lead the enforcers efficiently, Lord Captain. He enunciates each word with pride, but you note drops of sweat on his brow. Sorry, I'm terrible at reading today. I hereby offer you my assistance, Captain. I shall conduct an inspection and then share my thoughts on how to change this place for the better. But Frenzo stops himself mid-protest and then assumes a more compliant tone. In that case, I urge you to remain vigilant. The freight trains move at great speeds, and the inhabitants of the residential units are a despicable rabble. One must never drop one's guard around them. And Emperor preserve you from stumbling into the pestilence pit. That's where the madman and the lepers live. Tell me about this station. Hub LD 987A14 connects the lower deck's freight, residential, and artillery bays. Our task is to monitor the flow of the labor force and prevent supply disruption between bays. Who maintains this hub? Traffic controllers. They're technomats trained by priests of the machine cult to keep the sacred cogitators in working order and prevent train collisions. The consequences of an accident like that would be easy to imagine, especially if one of the trains was carrying macro cannon ordnance. Also employed are the Enforcer Squad, a team of Inferni, the clerks who keep the cargo records, and a Medicae officer. Fine chap whose Medicae of choice is a bullet. May the God Emperor forgive him. Not every void ship can boast of its own railway. That is true. Usually higher-class ships are the ones that get trains, but it's far from the greatest thing a rogue trader's warrant can see done. The credit here goes to Lady Theodora's predecessor, on whose orders the Adeptus Mechanicus assisted in birthing this miracle of sacred engineering from the womb of the dynasty's flagship. What is the situation on the lower decks? Most of the locals unload trains and sort provisions. We give maintenance jobs to the more capable ones. The rest are reserve workforce. Whatever crew are lost on a deck, we find replacements from among those rats. And if extra hands are needed anywhere else, there are always more than enough volunteers eager to work for rations. They even queue for jobs. The rabble cause you no problems, I hope? Surely you're joking, Lord Captain. The rabble are base in nature, and mutiny is always on their minds. They steal whatever they can get their hands on, and lately they've moved from rations and tinned food to weapons. We confiscate these regularly, of course, and keep the serfs meek and terrified. That's the only way we can protect the mindless herd from themselves. Oh, another thing the bastards do on a regular basis is build their shacks in front of service tunnel entrances. That has delayed the arrival of Infernus brigades during several emergencies and caused air and power supply problems in adjacent bays. We burn those saboteurs along with their shacks, but they just keep pressing on regardless. Mutinous rabble? How paranoid of you. To the best of my knowledge, being paranoid is practically a requirement in our line of work. In any case, the rabble are always plotting. Take my word for it. I've learned enough. The cult of the Bloodspun Web has a presence in this compartment, does it not? That is correct. The enforcers do not bar them from carrying out their sacred duties, he scowls. As regular as it is to have armed crew members set up a secret hideout forbidden to the enforcers, and that they can go around dispensing bloody justice. Do you not take issue with death cultists killing people in your territory? Frenso avoids looking at Cabela. I do, Lord Captain, but the cult is authorized to exist on the ship, which means their activities down here are not to be interfered with. What do you know about the death cultists? Not much, but I'm always trying to learn more, given that they like to pay visits to my compartment. Frenso scratches his head, thinking. The Spinners honor the Emperor through death. They kill notorious reprobates and heretics. Sometimes they kill righteous folk, and other times they seemingly at random. Their rituals are morbid and their prayers are strange. Anyone not initiated in their rites would struggle to make any sense of them. I see. The captain grumbles sullenly under his breath. Be steadfast in your duty, Captain Frenso. The Emperor protects, Lord Captain.
I won't tolerate weakness.
The servo overseer makes a note of everyone who passes by its station every time. The Technomats are performing a sensing rite on the sacred power transformer, but the machine spirits are running rampant and will not be swayed.
Follow my lead.
A statue to Majos Ionius, the 9th architect of Freight Hub LD 987A14. The Cogita dashboard controlling the rail junctions is lit with indicator lumens for active hubs. Arrival and departure announcements are pouring out of the Vox systems. Lord Captain, sir. Adak Frenso stops perusing the reports on his data slate. I hope being in the bay has not caused you any inconvenience. Is that blood? It can't be. We scrubbed the deck 3 times right before the rogue trader came. Void take me, the captain will have our heads. The one time I rushed the dialogue. Is this the welcome you give the rogue trader? Apelard's nostrils flare in anger. Whoever had the audacity to leave behind this appalling symbol, I will see to it the Master-at-Arms calls them to account herself. The corner of the captain's mouth twitches nervously as he mutters. Damn those. How did they even examine the mark? You've seen this sort of symbol before. Death cultists carve bleeding marks like this into their own skin. Cabela carves the same symbol on the back of her hand with a knife and whispers a prayer. Domin Constantinos, remember this sign. It is the beginning of your quest, the first blood trail. Do you know what this mark is? Resembles one of the symbols associated with the Bloodspun Web. What was it called again? The Song of Trailing Blood, I think. It's a prayer familiar to many in the compartment. We've heard spinners say it when they, perform their signature acts of service to the Emperor. Frenso takes a deep breath. The soundless shadows sank into the dark. Slashed feet crescendo, a fatal dance. Blade song in tempo, each edge an echo, twin odes to death throes. Now, on her sacred blood, as she once trod the backs of foes, tread countless souls, but none who know. What is the song of trailing blood? From what I can tell, it's something like a prayer with several verses that tell the life of one of the cult's saints, Ariane, or Matriarch Spider as they call her. In other words, it is an invitation. It is only too obvious, your outstanding intellect is known beyond the bounds of your home system, that cultists obsessed with mysticism would never use prose to mark their way to their temple. They are too fond of their obscure chants and cryptic verses. You memorized the verse? Why? When I took up my post here, I made sure to familiarize myself with all the particular qualities of this compartment. I soon heard about the verse and decided to investigate. I questioned a number of people who follow the blood-spun web as I was trying to figure out if there was anything pernicious about it. And eventually I learned the whole thing. He frowns. The words are certainly strange, but there's nothing worse than that, it seems. Why would they leave this mark here? Maybe it has something to do with them inviting you to visit their temple. Maybe they're trying to get your attention. Apologies, Lord Captain. I'm no good at deciphering disturbing riddles. So I just need a minute here to get something to drink. So I'm invited to follow a trail of blood, it seems. I accept the spinner's invitation. I hope you find what you're looking for and return to the upper deck safely, Lord Captain. I think you can make out letters woven into the intricate symbol, and though the meaning of each individual letter eludes you, together they unmistakably form an arrow pointing in a certain direction. Soundless shadow sank into the dark, slashed feet, crescendo, fatal dance, blade song and tempo, each edge an echo, twin odes, death roads now on her sacred blood, as once she trod the backs of foes, tread countless souls, but none who know. Okay, it doesn't seem like it's code for directions.
A new challenge for me.
Upper deckers avoid coming here. But how can one live aboard the flagship only to turn one's back on the core that gives it life?
This core can just as easily take a life too. Especially if someone around here takes a fancy to your boots.
The rotting guts of someone unfortunate enough to be flattened by a train lie glistening on the track. I heard the rogue traders come down from the upper decks. The longer you stare at the mark, the quieter the sounds of the station become. The shadows grow longer and seem to stretch in the direction of the adjacent section.
Victory awaits!
Mercy, please save me! The young man gasps for air through burnt lips, slipping in and out of delirium. His skin is dripping from his gaunt body like melted wax from a candle. His eyes, somehow intact, alive, clear, are filled with pain, and they stare at you from under his caked eyelids. Get some enforcers and Medicaid personnel in here now. There is a man in need of revival. Once he is recovered, assign him to a scribe's apprentice. He is too badly injured to go back to a worker's life. A blissful smile twists the man's lips, and a tear forms in the corner of his ruined eye socket. The God Emperor has sent you to save me. You are his light. You are his grace. Thank you. Thank you for not leaving me here. Never forget the mercy that the Lord Captain has granted you. When the Undying One is ready to accept a soul, it must be sent forth, and so it will be freed from the torment of the flesh. Yet you have chosen to prolong this one's suffering. Your intentions perplex me. Do you know anything about the mark next to you? He tries to turn his head, his blackened skin crunching as it opens into scarlet cracks. A spinner came. He painted the symbol, and then he gave me water and whispered a strange verse. He told me to memorize it and to recite it later so that help would come. And here you are! That I should... He begins to whisper, his lips twisted in pain. To soot-smirched soul her mercy she did grant. Last breath expressed, knife met heart, removed from chest, passed on to death. Her duty blessed, a balm for those who suffer anguish and distress. A longing brought to rest, of mortal bonds the soul divest. More verses. The crux of this test is clear. In order to follow in the saint's footsteps, you are supposed to kill the young man and thus release him from his suffering. The cultists want to see if you understand the philosophy of those you think. Who are you and what happened to you? I'm Vale, the cleaner. I was in my house, asleep. Enforcers came to set fire to it. I didn't make it out in time. I wonder how long he's been sitting here like this. A watch? 3? The whispers say nobody cared because he didn't matter. But they also say he's somehow supposed to matter to us. Strange. Of course, thank you. The workers, beaten to within an inch of their lives, are returning stolen power panels, wire, and microlumens to containers marked disposal. So I would have guessed the next symbol would have been this way, but
I'll lay claim to the stars.
the time-worn loader is barely fit for purpose at this point, but the enforcers still see its complex maintenance as the lesser evil compared to hiring ignorant, clumsy scroungers to do the job.
This explorator is blessed with multifunctionality.
The Infernus Master salutes you cheerfully with his Eos stick. Lord Captain, what an unexpected encounter. What brings you to this compartment? Famous cuisine and magnificent vistas, no doubt. What are you doing here? I'm here to patch up Savage Locomotive number 3 under the Tech Priest's supervision. That old grump is my personal favorite on the entire freight line. Every couple of years, Savage gets mad. His boiler catches fire and starts spitting steam at the repairman. Guess who they call to take care of him in these situations? The Inferni, of course. And after I've done the most dangerous work, that's when the Iron Brains come in. But that's alright. I love Savage. When he's in a good mood, the feeling you get standing at his levers and speeding down the freight line is indescribable. I envy those Tech Priest drivers who get to operate him every day. The roar of the boiler, the wheels thumping like mad, and all that furious power pulsing in your hands responding to the slightest movement. How about there's a mischievous spark in Heinrich's eyes. I introduce you. Cannot turn down an offer like that. The panel before you is covered with technical runes, lumens, and levers. The platform shakes with the boiler's mighty vibration as the iron beast beneath your feet growls and snorts ferociously. Heinrich squints contentedly and whispers the litany of ignition before turning to you. The machine is angry and refuses to obey. Right now, Savage is powered only by the auxiliary maneuvering engine. We will need to start the main rotor if we want to take a trip down the freight line. Initiating the train blessing algorithm. Let not corrosive wear separate the wheel sets. Let the traction drive receive the touch of the motive force granted by the invisible hand of the Omnissiah. Let his grace strengthen the joints and supports that lift the body above the decay of mortal tracks. Hear me, driver, and praise the machine god thrice, for it is only by his will that the miracle of sacred locomotion is accomplished. The blessing has been successfully executed. Listen to the rumbling noise coming from the boiler. The stubborn machine does indeed seem remarkably similar to a wild beast. The roar of the mechanism resembles hoarse growling, and the scarlet glow of the lumens on the control panel makes you think of the malicious glare of a predator. The spirit of this machine is vicious, but strong and lively. What should I do? Put your hand on the big lever and gently give it a pull. Very gently. Heinrich's face is focused, but his voice has not lost any of its playful cheer. Savage does not like being hassled. Grasp the lever and gently pull it toward you. A few erratic jolts shake the platform, and an indignant groan emanates from the depths of the machine. An intense shudder passes through the lever and into the palm of your hand, and there's a strange feeling of emptiness in your stomach. Savage's fiery heart is stirring. Do you feel it? There's so much energy and defiance in him. This is a rocket, not a locomotive, unruly and enamored with speed, but quite willing to submit to a strong hand. There's almost a loving tenderness in Heinrich's voice. Pull the lever towards you, smoothly but firmly, then pump the fuel with the command rune. Pull the lever and pump the fuel. A new explosion inside Savage shakes his iron body, causing your eyes to see double from the vibration. Now you're feeling his real power. He can run down the entire freight line in a minute given the chance, and kill everyone who rides him at that speed. Now try applying some thrust to the main rotor. Grab those paired levers and give them a firm tug. Reach for the ornately carved levers and waken the beast. A torrent of steam bursts from the slit in front of your face, but Heinrich deftly covers you with his shoulder. A moment later, you realize that you cannot hear a thing, or rather, you hear only one thing, the roar of the engine, triumphant and powerful. Looks like the Savage has agreed not to kill us both. His Tech Priest Guardians will be pleased. All hail the Lord Captain. You have subdued a mighty beast today. Now, I'm sure you have urgent business to attend to, and it's time for me to drive Savage down the line and see if he is feeling cranky. Have a good trip. Everything's gonna be alright. Savage would never fry me. Right, Savage?
It's about time.
It is going to stop covering this at some point, right? Huh.
I rise to the occasion.
Judging by the merchant's round, well-fed face, the rusty junk laid out on the counter is merely a smokescreen for the more valuable and likely illegal goods that are now hidden from idle glances.
I won't tolerate weakness.
The Whispers told me a secret.
How many times do I need to tell you, ungrateful maggots? Mistakes must be paid for. Have mercy, in the throne's name, I beg you. The battered worker throws himself at your feet and touches the toe of your boot with his dirty palms. Your gracious lordship, hand of the god emperor, save your unworthy servant. Get lost! The enforcer's heavy baton pummels the man's back and shoulders several times. His bones crack audibly. My sincerest apologies, Lord Captain. Your boot. I'll clean it right away. A murmur of discontent breaks out among the gawkers who have gathered around. None of the other workers dare come closer, but the anger on their faces is plain to see. I intend to hear this man out. Your lordship, I work hard. I never take breaks to rest, and all I earn is 7 ration cards with 15 mouths to feed back home. The enforcers shake me down every shift, just like they do every other honest hard worker who... Enough whining. You and your pals lifted a box of Nutribars a few watches ago, and 2 canisters of water before that. I didn't beat the life out of you because I took pity on you, and this is the thanks I get? You quarantined the hub for 20 watches and refused to give out rations if we didn't have cards. Cards we had no way to earn. And today you earned 15 cards in a single shift because you do the work of 3 people, right? Or did you take your pals to a dark corner somewhere, do them in, and take their share? I didn't do them in. It was an act. The worker stops himself, cowers and whimpers. They got their heads bashed in by crates. The dead don't need rations. Am I to understand that the enforcers are appropriating earners from workers after their shifts? We appropriate nothing. We just monitor and redistribute. The enforcer mutters gloomily. The rabble are a lying and thieving lot. We have instructions to stay alert for people holding more than the standard amount of ration cards to prevent supply embezzlement and famine. They do take our cards, your lordship, and then grow fat using them for themselves. The worker's eyes squeeze shut tightly as he whispers his accusations. He seems unable to believe his stroke of luck. Okay, I'm going to read all the options here because these are funny. Strike the enforcer. Consider yourself discharged thief. Tomorrow you are to stand here and queue for a work assignment like the others. Return the cards and do not dare abuse your position again. Trust the worker. Every crime will be punished accordingly. I offer no protection to thieves. You both deserve punishment. Strip the arbitrary enforcer of his rank and give lashes to the thief. Add a note of sagely depth to your voice. Society, you see, is much like a boot. Its toe proudly directs the foot of the Imperium forward, and yet it needs a soul to stand on. You are the soul, good people. That you are down here choking on dirt without ever seeing a sliver of light is not the result of someone's ill will, but rather it is the logical order of the world. I hope that understanding this fact will help you make peace with your destiny and free you of all spite. Return the cards and do not... You both deserve punishment. Strip the arbitrary enforcer of his rank and give lashes to the thief. The worker snarls at the enforcer, who has suddenly gone pale. Didn't expect that now, did you? Once my back stops hurting, we'll see how brave you are without your baton. Low, insistent dissent begins to rise in the crowd, only to die back down as soon as the enforcers brandish their batons. The murmurs immediately turn into pleas for mercy. A sullen, red-bearded man with keen black eyes draws your attention. His oddly piercing gaze seems to size you up the whole time you were speaking, but now he has hastened to conceal himself behind the gawkers. The next thing you know, you are watching him hurry deeper into the tunnels. The discharged enforcer, surrounded by spiteful leers, glowers at the crowd as the beaten worker laughs uproariously, seeming far more pleased with the other's misfortune than troubled by his own sentence. One of the difficulties I run into here is I'm not super clear on the kind of the world's ethics. So I think the thief kind of has a point that dead men don't need ration cards, but on the other hand, I'm not entirely sure. Like if it's theft of ration cards, that's still not the done thing. So I don't necessarily feel bad giving him a punishment. I mean, the arbitrary enforcer is definitely one that you want to make sure you deal with, but I don't want to give it entirely. I don't want to be like, 100% good guy, Lord Captain. The bay's bulkhead is marred by traces of gunfire and rust-colored stains from old blood that was never properly washed off.
Follow my lead.
An expected result.
Despite your efforts, the container does not budge an inch, but you heard an unpleasant crunch in your lower back. Lord Captain, this container weighs as much as a whole train. Perhaps you'd like to use the cargo crane? The kids have been waiting for you. How was your shift? We worked hard. I helped out some friend with the loading, and he gave me some cards. Take them and exchange them for new shoes. Yours are all worn out. Thank you. I've already made your bed for you, so once we've eaten, you go and rest. The little ones and I will head out to the marketplace and leave you in peace. These are my new blood donors. Why did the Emperor send me such a wonderful wife? Your Lordship, a ration card, please. A group of beggars are rattling their alms mugs, ostentatiously displaying their hunger-sunken bellies and various disfigurements. A toothless man falls to his knees before you. Your Lordship, spare a throne for those who can't even get the worst job. Ignore the beggars. I hope no one notices this is my third time in the queue. What ship is complete without the goop cauldron?
To the start.
I mean, maybe this is where we want to go after all. The food vat is protected from the vicious, hungry crowd by equally vicious thugs wielding makeshift weapons. The consequences of a terrible crash on monorail LD 987 half a century ago are still affecting the efficiency of this stretch of railway.
We should deal with this.
Duty prevails.
It's about time.
Crumbled scrap of parchment. Give our gift to the one who sees nothing but hears everything. Then the truth will be revealed to you. Stench of decaying bodies creeps into your throat and lungs, forming a sticky film lining your airways. Stop being so bloody difficult. What's the thing the death cultists say? Your time has come and what have you. No, please. What did I do? How about being everywhere at once? How about we take his stuff to the marketplace? We'll get to eat soup tonight. The specimens before you must be the most repellent inhabitants in the compartment. They are covered in sores and bald patches glistening with pus, and the stench of unwashed bodies brings a tear to your eye. One of them glowers at you and grunts. What you want? For what crime did you kill this man? For the crime of wealth. That dead bastard had rations and fuel cells. We'll trade them for porridge. I'm the Lord Captain of this ship. On your knees, insolent scum. The outcasts look to one another and burst into hoarse, gurgling cackles. Lord Captain in our shithole, and I'm St. Drusus, and here's my regalia. The man exposes an armpit riddled with boils. Argenta towers over the freak, looking immaculate and unaffected. Even meeting a wretched heretic such as these brings me joy. Wiping out even a drop of corruption is still a worthy deed. You detect a note of hysteria in the vagrant's laughter. The fingers of many are convulsively trembling, and there is something in the fearless way they look at you, an indifference to death, too strange and unnatural. You are sentenced to death for committing murder on my ship. The mutant bears the black stumps that are his teeth. We'll gut you and trade what you have on you for that for a pile of scran. Hey, outcasts, come on up if you want to share in the spoils.
I won't heed your cries of mercy.
Cabela's
Your emperor won't save you.
Cabela's background. Cabela has a remarkable background. As a death cult assassin, she can use a special ability called Raining Blood, and when used, it causes the target of Cabela's next melee attack to explode in a burst of blood, covering the floor and any enemies behind the target. The affected enemies suffer additional damage. Cabela can also use a special throwable consumable item called Blood File to spill even more blood on the battlefield. Cabela is a blade dancer. Blade dancers are incredibly skilled sword fighters who can devastate enemies using two special attacks, Blade Dance and Death from Above. The Blade Dance ability allows the Blade Dancer to make several light strikes against random adjacent targets, and if there is only one adjacent target, all strikes are directed against the target. If two swords are equipped, the Blade Dancer deals significantly more strikes. Death from Above allows the Blade Dancer to swiftly leap at a selected cell and upon landing deal damage to all adjacent targets. This ability can be used multiple times per turn, but each requires a charge to be spent. The Blade Dancer gains charges by killing their enemies. The Blade Dancer's main characteristics are weapon skill, agility, and strength, probably something they should have told me before I leveled up. Weapon skill enhances their melee attacks and defense in close combat. Agility increases their dodge chances and makes their abilities more efficient, for example, increasing the number of strikes made with Blade Dance. Strength increases their damage dealt with swords. Note, most of the Blade Dancer's abilities can only be used with swords equipped. Some abilities available through progression cost wounds instead of AP. Okay. Oh, actually, let's get Cabela. Alright, I think this roughly works.
I serve the ruinous powers.
Alright, let's see these abilities. So Blade Dance. Blade Dancer makes 3 melee attacks against random targets, including allies, adjacent to the Blade Dancer, each dealing 50% of more of their normal damage. Doesn't count towards the attack limit.
As honor ordained, final weapon. Let your soul be purged. The shadows, no blade whispers your name. Such is the will of chaos. I will not die in dishonor.
So I'm gonna guess lightning's gonna hit my people as much as the others. I'm wondering though. That
Anything
seems like a
else?
good one.
Such terrible power. Was it you? Or
My place is at the fore. Indeed. Target well struck. I took care of this one. Victory is imminent. At your beck and call. It will be done.
Right. I think we'll do run and gun on this one.
Doubt is for the weak.
All right, let's go for the quote-unquote guaranteed kills first.
This is why I was chosen. As the Emperor commands, none can escape the Emperor's judgment. I will not.
Huh. I was hoping I'd be able to... There we go.
Advancing.
Damn!
High momentum.
Suits my purposes.
You! Serve me!
Not a problem for me. Already done. Suits my purposes.
You, my Emperor! My fate shields me.
I don't know how they healed like that, but good to know. Yeah, so Blade Dance.
Caught by the web.
Death Waltz. Blade Dancer uses death from above against target enemy without spending a charge, immediately making a melee attack against that enemy. Okay, I'm wondering... let's go for the bird in the hand.
I shall killing. Brings me no pleasure. Trust me, death is a blessing.
I am your doom. Crush the feeble.
Okay, I think Idir is the obvious choice here. Hopefully without killing Pascal.
I know what is to come.
The Imperium is calling to me. On it. Will do.
I will do my duty. It will be done. Indeed.
Oh, I messed this up. Okay, that's fine.
No matter the cost. Reduced to dust. Tried and tested tactics are the best ones.
Oh, damn it. For some reason I thought I'd be able to dash.
I've seen worse battles than this in my time. That's not the Seneschal's job. Someone else can do this.
Okay, I think we'll probably... It's a tough call, so I can try and... Actually, let's try and shoot through.
Faith without deeds is worthless.
Okay, now if I can... I wonder if my chances get better by walking close. Yep.
Explorators know one route. Forward. Running binaric override. The scriptural prognosis is favorable.
Nothing I can't do. Not a problem for me. I'm not interested. It will
No!
be done.
Alright. I have to do.
Victory is an exemplary strike.
I will endure.
I took care of this one.
No, I cannot serve you in this way. A dance of blades and shadows.
Huh. I am going to need to find a way to heal. And ignite.
Anything else?
Cool.
I will do my reduce of dust. Your seneschal is always there for you.
All right, fun. I think one of the things that's kind of interesting, this kind of comes back to the idea of the morality of the Warhammer 40k universe. And this might just be like me being a big old wuss. But actually, let me
Just as I was taught.
The man is suffering from a severe but curable disease. One vial of medicine administered in the early stages would have saved him. Let me just reorient myself. When it comes to, like, so the world of Warhammer 40k very, very clearly treats like people are I guess the line in the BattleTech adaptation is like meat is cheap. So, you know, like people can easily be replaced. The technology to make the machines is lost or at least very rare. And so, you know, as a consequence, you have, I mean, like, it's obviously it's a highly authoritarian, you know, miserable empire. I don't even know if there is such a thing as a non-authoritarian empire. But so, like, again, I am very much playing this like good guy Lord Captain, which I suspect is one of the reasons why the iconoclast morality exists to, you know, it exists as an option. But, you know, it is kind of fun, like, it is kind of fun to see how the game kind of gives you permission to engage in some lower decks combat. So, you know, I think the way this game works, if you were you know, if you just wanted to shoot someone in the lower decks, I don't think anybody would really question the Lord Captain's choice there. But as a player, that strikes me as a particularly monstrous thing to do, and I couldn't really see why I would want to do something like that. So, you know, in this case here, right, it's like, well, they're mutants, and it's pretty clear they're touched by chaos or whatever. So you see somebody, like, kick a guy down into a fan to steal his stuff, and all of a sudden you're okay, like, killing 10 guys or something like that. It is kind of funny to see how it works out that way. Now, because I'm really feeling the effects of a lack of sleep this week, I'm going to be a bit more strict about my breaks. So we've been going for about an hour. I noticed that there is some dialogue up here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of a rest. I'm going to finish off my coffee, have a stretch, just otherwise take care of myself. I'll be back, I'll do the dialogue, and then we'll see if we can find those symbols again. I sort of ran down here thinking that maybe it was trying to point me to the lower decks, but I don't think it turned out that way. So anyways, I will be back soon. I'll see you all in a little bit. Okay. Thank you everybody for your patience. I'm hoping the pre-roll's off. Let's jump back in. Scraps of rotting flesh fall from the pleading man's body, exposing maggot-infested wounds. No one finds the courage to approach the bodies of these outcasts, their rotting flesh and cartilage bearing the marks of void disease. Death hangs in the air within the pestilence pit, but it is not your time to go. Touch nothing unless absolutely necessary, Domin Konstantinos.
What torments you?
We must act.
I am your shadow.
Maybe the dialogue is just because the line was up there. Zedna the Outcast, a figure in decaying tatters, is rocking to and fro, muttering indistinctly in several different voices, occasionally breaking into hoarse laughter. As you come closer, she freezes and turns slowly to look at you. An ugly rusted mask covers her face. Are you here to take Zedna to the other side? No. You're just wandering around in the dark, looking for the light, but it's nowhere to be found. Do you really see it? Who are you? Old Zedna, Zedna the Outcast, Zedna the Mad, Zedna the Disaster, Zedna the Curse, Zedna the Spurned. The woman hugs her arms to her chest and starts cackling loudly. Broken chains clink at her emaciated wrists and neck. A ghost of the past, shadow of the present. Only the undying one knows. He alone. Why are you wearing chains and a mask? You haven't escaped from the enforcers, have you? I forgot to get rid of the break sign. Sorry. Ah, these gifts, they are. The chains clinked in outside in his approach, for others to hear. She slides her disease-darkened palm down the rough, rusted metal of her mask. They hide, fearful of becoming like Sedna, afraid of losing face. What is this repulsive place? Do you live here? The woman scratches her neck nervously. You note her deformed fingers, ravaged by some unknown disease. Here, where the unfortunate meet their death. Here, a dumping ground for the bodies of those undying one rejects. Here, where pestilence dwells, Zedna welcomes them all, talks to their ghosts. Here, where Zedna lives? Yes, that sounds right. You talk to ghosts. You can't hear them? Zedna points somewhere off to the side, laughs, and then stops herself sharply. They don't like it when people come here. Lord Captain, this woman is clearly ill in both spirit and body. Best to leave her be. This is one of the things, so I think this is maybe just me being a little too thick for the Warhammer 40k setting, or possibly not engaged. This is one of the things that I like about the different styles of game that Warhammer 40k is able to be done in. I appreciate that there are different chaos gods. I think they're the same as in the fantasy Warhammer setting. So you've got Khorne, sort of a god of war, god of violence. You've got Tzeentch, the kind of the god of secrets. Slaanesh, more hedonistic style. And then Nurgle. And it was funny, I never really rated Nurgle before, and I don't know if that was just because the other ones got more attention, or if there was just this like point where Nurgle got a lot more attention. Anyways, I'm appreciating more. So we have like the idea of chaos cults being bred in, among the disaffected in the Imperium. And of course, I mean, this is the sort of stuff that's really easy to talk about from the outside, but like we face... so like clearly Warhammer 40k is everything turned to 11 so that you can spin a good yarn. But like the thing that's so interesting is when you look at something like the Imperium, right? It's like, oh, wasn't the Emperor of Mankind just make everything a utopia? Is he stupid? Like, the funny thing is that, and I think this is kind of where stories become interesting, is that they are a way of sort of shining a light on maybe some of our own blind spots. And again, I just need to keep in mind how ridiculous I sound on this. Like, I'm not, if you want to learn how to make the world a better place, probably don't start with the Warhammer 40k setting. But on the other hand, like, I'm also not gonna like deny the authors of those stories like the ability to talk about something that they're interested in, right? Like, you can have any number of seemingly pulpy or surface level stories, and a talent is going to be able to make some great stuff out of that. So like, it's judge the things on their merits is probably the best way to navigate it. Otherwise, it just becomes sort of snobbery. But the thing that kind of interests me is, I've been reflecting. So I guess in the real world, right, would be I'm interested in political economy. It's always kind of interesting. So if you think about macroeconomics if you studied at a university, there's usually like two big topics they'll talk about in the early courses, and those are like business cycles and economic growth. And then there's like a line from Robert Lucas that sort of says, once you start thinking about growth, it's hard to think about anything else. And it's just largely, it's part of a greater passage where he sort of described, the amount of GDP that could be added by completely smoothing out the business cycle, right? The booms and busts. Maybe you're looking at like 1% or something like that. And yet when you think of economic growth, and the fact that you can get larger percentages, and then reflecting that even like a 2 or 3% improvement in terms of growth, and considering the number of people that takes out of poverty, it's just one of those things that quickly becomes all-consuming, and that's the reason why it becomes the thing that actually, let me find the exact quote, because this is the thing that's nice about quotes like that, is they're really well said and much more memorable than my summary. So let me just see. Lucas. Ugh. Nobody likes my VPN. Oh, come on. Okay, you know what? This is just going to be me indulging for a bit, and I apologize, but I actually think this is a really worthwhile one to read, like, in context. So this is from On the Mechanics of Economic Development from Robert E. Lucas Jr., same Lucas of the Lucas Critique, if you're familiar with that, Journal of Monetary Economics, 1988. This paper contains the prospects for constructing a neoclassical theory of growth and international trade that is consistent with some of the main features of economic development. 3 models are considered and compared to evidence: a model emphasizing physical capital accumulation and technological change, a model emphasizing human capital accumulation through schooling, and a model emphasizing specialized human capital accumulation through learning by doing. Okay, so this is going to be a couple pages worth, but hopefully this will be interesting to people. And then I will try and relate it back to some of the stuff that I'm thinking. Hey, Revive Snow. Was this document approved by the Inquisitor? It might contain heretical ideas. Well, a lot of people think of the Lucas critique as the gun that only shoots left. So this is actually one that would count as heretical beliefs. But Lucas is a solid thinker. Like the thing that is very disappointing about talking about ideas, particularly in 2026, although, we've had varying degrees through which people, I don't know. I don't think we're in like a uniquely horrible situation, but it does feel that it's a little difficult. It just generally feels that a lot of stuff is always filtered through the lens of politics, and I'm guilty of this. Like I think I'm at the point of sort of self-censorship where I sort of disclose ahead of time, and I should maybe stop doing that. It's like the idea is that you should ideally listen to the proposition, decide, are you convinced by it? And if you are not, what was the thing that lost you, right? What was it? Do you just disagree with the idea? Do you find the conclusion uncomfortable? It's not even necessarily something that you're not allowed to, like, sometimes it's okay for that to be the reason, right? You can, you're allowed to have your feelings, but it's maybe not as strong as, identifying, because the thing is, if the person's mistaken, ideally you want to help divest them of the misapprehension, right? And so ideally you're able to point out where maybe the reasoning was flawed or where they made the mistake, and then you can build on that and make something better. But in any case, with that in mind, the Lucas critique is often thought of as again the gun that only shoots left. But I want to divest us of all thought and reason return. I keep forgetting Revive Stone. By the way, I think you may be the one of the few people in here. But for those of you who've not checked out Revive Stone plays a lot of Warhammer 40k stuff and actually plays them as opposed to just commentates on them. But I really like hanging out in Revive Snow's channel. All right, but yeah, I should get reading on this because we got a couple of pages before we get to the Lucas quote. Well, this is all the Lucas quote, but the one that kicked this off. So 1. By the problem of economic development, I mean simply the problem of accounting for the observed pattern across countries and across time in levels and rates of growth of per capita income. This may seem too narrow a definition, and perhaps it is, but thinking about income patterns will necessarily involve us in thinking about many other aspects of societies too, so I would suggest that we withhold judgment on the scope of this definition until we have a clearer idea of where it leads us. The main features of levels and rates of growth of national incomes are well enough known to all of us, but I want to begin with a few numbers so as to set a quantitative tone and to keep us from getting mired in the wrong kind of details. Unless I say otherwise, all figures are from the World Bank's World Development Report of 1983. The diversity across countries is measured in measured per capita income levels is literally too great to be believed. Compared to the 1980 average for what the World Bank calls the industrial market economies, Ireland up through Switzerland, of US $10,000, India's per capita income is 240, Hades is 270, and so on for the rest of the various poorest countries. This is a difference of a factor of 40 in living standards. These latter figures are too low to sustain life in, say, England or the United States, so they cannot be taken at face value, and I will avoid hanging too much on their exact magnitudes. But I do not think that anyone will argue that there is not enormous diversity in living standards. Rates of growth of real per capita GNP are also diverse, even over sustained periods. For 1960 to 80, we observe, for example, India, 1.4% a year, Egypt, 3.4%, South Korea, 7%, Japan, 7.1%, the United States, 2.3%, the industrial economies average 3.6%. To obtain from growth rates the number of years it takes for incomes to double, divide these numbers into 69, the log of 2 times 100. Then Indian incomes will double every 50 years, Korean every 10. An Indian will, on average, be twice as well off as his grandfather, a Korean 32 times. These differences are at least as striking as the differences in income levels, and in some respects more trustworthy, since within-country income comparisons are easier to draw than across-country comparisons. I've not calculated a correlation across countries between income levels and rates of growth, but it would not be far from zero. The poorest countries tend to have the lowest growth, the wealthiest next. The middle-income countries, the highest. The generalizations that strike the eye have to do with variability within these broad groups. The rich countries show little diversity, Japan excepted, else it would not have been classed as a rich country in 1980 at all. Within the poor countries, low and middle income, there is enormous variability. Within the advanced countries, growth rates tend to be very stable over long periods of time, provided one averages over periods long enough to eliminate business cycle effects, or corrects for short-term fluctuations in some other way. For poorer countries, however, there are many examples of sudden large changes in growth rates, both up and down. Some of these changes are no doubt due to political or military disruption. Angola's total GDP growth fell from 4.8 in the 1960s to negative 9.2 in the 70s. Iran's fell from 11.3 to 2.5, comparing the same two periods. I do not think we need to look to economic theory for an account of either of these declines. There are also some striking examples of sharp increases in growth rates. The four East Asian miracles of South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore are the most familiar. For the 1960 to 80 period, per capita income in these economies grew at rates of 7, 6.5, 6.8, and 7.5 respectively, compared to much lower rates in the 1950s and earlier. Between the 60s and 70s, Indonesia's GDP growth increased from 3.9 to 7.5, Syria's from 4.6 to 10. I do not see how one looks at figures like these without seeing them as representing possibilities. Is there some action a government of India could take that would lead to the Indian economy to grow like Indonesia's or Egypt's? If so, what exactly? If not, what is it about the nature of India that makes it so? The consequences for human welfare involved in questions like these are simply staggering. Once one starts to think about them, it is hard to think about anything else. So, no stats on Canada, not in the context of mechanics of economic development, and that's just mostly because Canada would be lumped into developed countries as part of the paper. Although famously, Canada has sort of a lower productivity than I think most people think it should. So anyway, why babble on about this, right? So the main point I kind of wanted to make is that in the real world, we do actually face problems kind of like this, right? In the sense of like, well, it's obvious you should just do X, Y, or Z and get it fixed. So for instance, for me, I am interested in economic growth, and I'm interested in different models. So like I was really interested in endogenous growth theory for a while. But I definitely got quite interested in political economy. And there's definitely something to be said about institutions and their ability to sort of ensure prosperity. And I mean, probably if you want good coverage on this, I would say, Darren Acemoglu and James Robinson's Why Nations Fail would be a good place to start. And I think they did a follow-up called The Narrow Corridor. But there's a few different ways that you can sort of think about it, right? Which is that if you have a certain degree of stability, right? If you can rely on the rule of law, if you can rely on certain, the provision of certain services, public capital, right, roads, all of these factors that sort of enable productive economic activity, then you're going to feel safe, sort of founding a business or otherwise engaging in the kinds of useful things that we like, right? Like maybe you'll start a Twitch stream and, you'll entertain people, or you'll open a coffee shop and, people will go on dates and, you'll sell London fogs or whatever. Or, you will found a software company and you will make, a better word processor, or, you'll provide low-cost technical support, and better still, you'll put you'll run Linux on everything, and people won't need to use Windows anymore. Whatever, right? Like, this is the thing. Like, you can see why I'm not an entrepreneur. All of those ideas suck. But the thing is that you are more likely to do something like that if you feel that you have the foundation in order to be able to set up your enterprise. And then, the idea that people are not going to be able to walk over and rob you, or that you are not going to have a police officer come by and expect their cut. The fact that you can rely on those things not happening will enable more of that economic activity. And the really important thing to remember is that is absolutely not something to be taken for granted. It is something, in my view, that is hard to conceive. Like, I have, through my entire life, I've lived in a country where if I get stopped by the police and I try to offer them a bribe, it is guaranteed that will make the situation worse for me, right? Try that in Russia. And more importantly, once you've established a system like that, it is very, very difficult to undo that. And so this is like one of the things that's kind of interesting about, there's a paper by Acemoglu, Robinson, and Johnson. I think this is the one they got the Nobel Prize for. Settler mortality was an instrument, but basically it's the idea of sort of extractive institutions or not. So you have, like, the historical comparison they make is that the Spanish set up their colonies, and it's largely about, enslaving whoever they can and getting them to work to extract the resources. And then you have the English trying to do that in North America, don't succeed in doing so. And so you have a system that is more about protecting property rights. I mean, in the end, that's largely what the American Revolution is about, right? Trying to defend their rights as Englishmen. And if they can't be Englishmen, then they will found their own country, darn it. And the argument, I'm again oversimplifying, but the argument that you can see between the two would be that you look at the later development, and that one is an engine of tremendous prosperity, whereas the other finds it very, very difficult to shake those earlier sort of. I'll just say institutions again. And again, it's that similar idea of, right, like, if it's all about, like, taking what you can from the people underneath you, what you're going to see when you have a change in government is a bunch of people trying to get, like, their time extracting everything. And there's a few different ways in which that's been handled. So, like, for Russia, for the longest time, the idea was, you get to keep your wealth as long as you stay out of politics. That doesn't, I mean, that's not to hold that up as an ideal, in case anybody's misunderstanding me on that. But that one, you have the Tsar, then you have communism, then you have you have the current government, right? These people, the idea of setting up your own thing and getting the rewards from it are pretty. You have to play another game to get there, let's say. And it's all well and good, right? So if you get some egghead like me coming in, oh yeah, just do X, Y, and Z, right? I mean, there's no shortage of do-gooders. These are well-intentioned people, right? I'm not trying to like make fun of them, but there's a lot of people who will, like, read a textbook and say, oh yeah, well, I got the solution here. But the implementation's really hard, particularly for these entrenched things. And so likewise, right, in the case of even something like the Lord Captain, like, the thing that's so interesting about this, right, is you're the Lord Captain. This is your ship. Your word is law. And yet there is, even with the iconoclast mode, right, you have this tremendous suffering below the decks. And of course, to a certain extent, I think some of the iconoclast choices are ones that are there to make you, the player, feel better rather than it. I mean, I think the Rogue Trader is the kind of character that you can, you probably could put a bit of, I get to be good guy, Lord Captain around. Like, I think Rogue Traders just inherently make good characters for role-playing games. You rule with an iron fist. Which, do you go full dogmatic on your morality score, Revive Snow? Or just a general principle, you rule with an iron fist? But yeah, I've been thinking more and more, right, about the setting. So I was just talking about in general how the structure of the Imperium creates conditions under which chaos can thrive, because of the unfairness and because of the desperation created. But like when I look at this, right, this is plague and pestilence inside the ship itself. Right, another one of the chaos gods. And in the end, I guess I suspect the more that I look at the Warhammer 40k setting, I can probably find chaos all over the Imperium. And then of course that just, from a storytelling point of view, that's just a fun territory to run around, right? In the setting, chaos very clearly is a malevolent force that you can fight on the battlefield. But you can also just say too, right, that it's a manifestation of these, these troubles within the Imperium. And that's really what those gods represent. I mean, sometimes you go too far on that, and it's just sort of like, yeah, we all liked English class. Like, just let me play my Space Marine game. So like, I'm not trying to suggest there being some sort of alternative reading or something like that. But what I do like whenever I go through environments like these, and I realize, oh man, like, yeah, this is definitely a reflection of the Imperium constantly paranoid about chaos, constantly worried about any trace of heresy, and yet the very actions that they're taking are allowing exactly the sorts of conditions under which chaos thrives. And where I can, I've tried to let that guide some of my characters' decisions, where they're interesting. The old woman turns away and starts talking to someone only her eyes can see.
Follow my lead!
A maimed and chained person is shivering under a robe soaked with blood and pus. Their teeth and nails have fallen out, and their shrunken skin is covered in abscesses.
This ocular implant was a worthwhile investment.
I've got a suspicious rash.
Over there.
Spinner of blood webs, I'm no heretic, and yet I am begging you for death. Can't you make an exception for a tormented soul?
The Emperor favors me today. I better myself through my service.
My success is an irrefutable certainty.
All right, let's do our levels, and then... Okay, inspire courage whenever the officer targets an ally with an ability for the first time around. I'll do steel resolve first. Not sure why demolition is such a big one, but... Alright, let's see if we can do better. So I've got Spinner's Blade here. Yeah, we definitely should be equipping more. All right. I think I'll leave this be for now, but I may reconsider some of the choices.
Never doubt me.
A new challenge for me?
The mold is dotted with glandular tendrils that ooze slime. Sick people who are still alive but can no longer walk are the mold's favorite choice of host to grow on and suck the last of life's juices from. I'm actually kind of curious, Revive Snow. So I know you've played Darktide. I know you play Space Marine 2.
It's about time.
What was the other one? And you've played this. Are there any other Warhammer 40k games you've played?
The machine god grants me insight.
It's going to take a minute here. So this was pointing me... If I just do a straight line... But I'm not convinced this is where I should be. Dawn of War and Bolka. What do you think of Dawn of War?
Victory awaits.
Bolkan, I think I played a little of it. Like, I didn't mind it, but it wasn't, it didn't, like, overwhelm me. I thought it was good. A lot of 1 and 2, never finished 3. You know, I always felt a little bad for number 3. I had a good time in it. I'm not going to suggest it's my favorite. I think I might have spent the most time in number 2, now that I think of it. A sinewy middle-aged man watches the bustle of the bay with detached expression. Every so often, whenever his eyes linger on the blood mark inscribed nearby, his face changes strangely and his hands clench into fists. Just as you begin to hear the rumble of an approaching train, the man's gaze turns towards the tracks. He leans forward. Do not even think of marring the underside of my train with your entrails. What? I did... The man starts and almost falls, but manages to keep his balance. In the dim lumen light, you notice old scars scattered all across his body. The scars seem vaguely familiar. Pascal's Vox synthesizer springs to life with an indignant binaric trill. I am registering this unit's intention to use the train tracks for purposes other than those intended by their design. I categorically demand that the unit's self-disposal be carried out using methods that do not violate the catechism of maintenance and operation. Look at the man's scars. The scars all vary in length, width, depth, and shape. However, you notice a pattern in the way the scars are aligned, as well as a series of faded symbols on the man's rough skin. Death cultists bear similar marks on their bodies. But spinners are constantly renewing their wounds, while this man's look long since healed. Oh, I don't think I've ever played Space Hulk Ascension. Yeah, so before I go further in the dialogue, I always felt a little bad for Dawn of War 3 because I genuinely thought they were trying to do something new and interesting. And, like, one, I like it when game developers do that. And I'm not convinced that they made the wrong choice for Dawn of War 3. However, I need to recognize that in the end, the world will tell you what works and doesn't. And clearly the audience did not connect with the direction that they took number 3 in. I would say there's two elements when I think about Dawn of War 3 and what might have gone wrong. So I did play the full campaign for Dawn of War 3, and it was fine. Like, I didn't dislike it. But I didn't love it. And I thought the thing that really seemed to put its effort in, let's say, was the multiplayer battles, right? It felt like a game that was really intended to be played, PvP rather than the campaign. And on that front, I actually thought that they did something interesting. So my general view is that real-time strategy, like, is a beloved genre among, I don't know, maybe I should say like a certain vintage of gamers, probably the right way to put it. But like, when I like listening to Soren Johnson's Designer Notes podcast, and like, I think a lot of the people who worked at Firaxis really loved real-time strategy games. There were like kind of battles between the teams. There are some people who will talk about Age of Empires like that was the peak of gaming. StarCraft is obviously like a huge esports thing. And like, I am sort of adjacent to this. I've played some of them, so I can't remember if I played it on stream, but I did the like remaster of Command and Conquer. I've played the GOG version of Warcraft and Warcraft 2. I haven't played number 3. I'm going through the remaster of StarCraft, and I do own StarCraft 2. But like, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm one of these people who consider real-time strategy to be peak gaming. I find it interesting, but I like, particularly on multiplayer, I really need to get better at them. It's not my normal mode of playing. But I think the fact that it's not my normal mode of playing is actually one of the reasons. I think that is one of the reasons why people like it so much. It's sort of forcing you to make decisions. I guess it's kind of the same way that, people like bullet chess, right? And I guess the point I would make is that there's something really interesting if you think about how seemingly unstoppable the real-time strategy genre was, right? So you've got like real-time strategy is basically what built Blizzard. You know, you got Warcraft, you got Warcraft 2, and if you consider Rogue is a turn-based game, and if you consider Diablo to be an adaptation of Rogue, one of the big features of that is that it is real time, right? So, you know, and like Blizzard is a massively successful company. So, you know, that's one where you can really point to them delivering. In fact, I think StarCraft 2 was sort of like, since StarCraft, like that was the big RTS release. Now, you know, the thing about Dawn of War is that I think that that is an example of, and Company of Heroes, I do feel that Relic brought something interesting to that genre, right? Like the idea of taking command points and getting your resources that way, not necessarily making it that you need to build constructor units, but rather that you need to achieve objectives that will then give you the resources with which you will implement your strategy. I think there's something really interesting about that, and I don't know if there were games that did that before. But the fact of the matter is that past a certain point, right, whether it's StarCraft or StarCraft 2, like real-time strategy isn't the sort of thing you expect to see big game developers come out with. And there's actually been quite a bit of stagnation in the genre. And again, I want to be really clear that I think Relic is an exception to that. You know, Dawn of War 2 is not like Dawn of War, and a lot of people complain about that. I think like I said, I think Dawn of War 2 is probably the one I've spent the most time in. So in that context, and you know, this is also to say the point I'm trying to make here is that not that people didn't try. There are people who tried. Like Tooth and Tail is an example of not just a game that tried to do a new take on real-time strategy, but it's actually specifically one that tried to do to bring it to console in a convincing way. I'm not entirely sure it succeeded, but another example of a game that tried to take, you know, real-time strategy and breathe some new life into it. I think Off-World Trading Company might be a better example of something that took real-time strategy in an interesting direction. But the one exception to the RTS story, and this is one I always get really annoying comments whenever I say this, and it's basically a bunch of people who pretend as if I have not thought about the objection that they raise. But as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to Dawn of War 3, the most interesting thing happening to the real-time strategy genre was the MOBA, right? And probably some people are sitting here thinking now about it. It's like, oh, the MOBA is its own genre. It came out of real-time strategy. No, like the thing is that, you know, sure, I'm not going to go. So I guess the one thing I would say is probably people who like MOBAs, at least the old school people who like MOBAs, definitely like real-time strategy games. But the thing is that the line is not nearly as clear as I think a lot of people want to make it to be. Like, if you think of it, if you say it's like, well, you know, the MOBA is just this, like, to me, it's like the MOBA is a distillation of the, of real-time strategy games, to, like, just almost a sarcastically, like, minimalist, degree. Like, you know, you're not building... You know, all of the units are effectively autonomous. Your influence on the battlefield is a single hero, and everything else is indirect influence. And I would argue that the people who think that the only interest to MOBAs and RTS like is historical. Like basically it's just a historical curiosity where you would compare it. All I can say is those are the people who don't play Meepo in like Dota 2. Like the idea, like I think it would be fair to say if you've got a bunch of like old school Dota players, and again, I never played Warcraft 3, never played original Dota. I came to Dota 2 after like Valve had it, and you know most of the roster was already implemented. But you know, I think the idea of like a player dropping out of a game and you're like, oh no, now we're gonna lose. I think to a Warcraft 3 player would be like giving up too much. Like the idea that you like somebody can't just like micro 2 units is like, I mean, it's probably not this way now, but like that would be the sign of a poser, right? And I say this as somebody who can't micro to save his life. But I'm also not pretending to be like an old school RTS guy. I'm not. So, you know, to me, when I see something like Dawn of War 3, and I see them trying to incorporate the most interesting thing that's happened to RTS games in the form of the MOBA, and to try and blend that with some of the features that made the earlier Dawn of War games so appealing, I have to respect that. And I like that they tried, and I obviously don't like how it turned out because it seems like people bounced off of it. And in the end, because I don't play a lot of competitive RTS, I can't even necessarily say where it went wrong. You know, Revive Snow says, you know, didn't enjoy the unit balance in 3. And honestly, like I haven't played enough to like really speak with authority on that. But I don't know, like I said, I like it when people try something big, and I guess the only thing I can say is that sometimes in order to get the benefit of, you know, the strokes of genius, sometimes we need to accept that it's not going to turn out. But I really like that Relic tried. Anyway, I never struck you as a... It's funny, Snow, because I think the game that we got to know each other on was Phantom Brigade, so I probably shouldn't be as surprised by your RTS playing, but... Alright, but spinners are constantly renewing their wits. You're always return to that blood symbol. What do you know about it? It's a symbol of the blood-spun web. I come here every day to watch, but it hasn't been here before now. I guess today must be my special day. He smiles strangely. The man's faded eyes go wide as he notices Kabbalah. His voice quivers. Have you come to take me to the other side? Kabbalah briefly studies the man's face, then turns away. I do not know you. Death's gaze is not upon you. The man lets out a dull groan and turns to look at the symbol again. Then why is it here? You know the symbols of the blood-spun web. You bear similar scars. Are you a spinner? I was, but I failed to complete my final assignment, so I was exiled from the cult. The Vizier told me to kill the one who would be at a certain junction of the utility tunnels at a certain hour. I went to the appointed spot. Then I waited. An hour, 2, 5. The junction was still empty. Nobody came. After hours of waiting, I finally realized the person at the junction had been me the whole time. It was my turn to go to the Undying One, but I was afraid. I couldn't do my duty. I ran. You were ordered to die? For what reason? The man looks at you, but some would choose to leave the righteous path. These earn penance in due time. Her whip sings vengeance on renegade menace. Her blades pass sentence, for cowards seek to hide their hearts. But death makes no pretendence. It takes what it is due in essence. He stops, then adds hoarsely, the third verse of the Song of Trailing Blood. The Vizier recited it to me before sending me on my final assignment. I didn't realize at the time that it was my judgment. Another verse, another step along the trail of blood. The riddle is trivial. It is time for death to take what is due, and the Vizier is waiting expectantly for you to carry out the sentence he passed years ago. There were plenty of reasons I sowed death. I offered him the souls of the most pleasing men and women I could find because it kindled my passions. I killed well-off crewmen who didn't deserve their wealth. I took their thrones. I killed enforcers who looked into my eyes without fear because I wanted to be feared. I reveled in bloodshed. I betrayed the tenants. I realized it, but I couldn't help it, because I enjoyed it. Oh, you poor thing. I think I'm gonna cry. You couldn't stop slicing people up. That must have been so hard for you. Even my whispers have nothing to say to that pathetic tale like that. I bet you're thinking, what a lousy self-absorbed sack of scum. So the spinners simply let you go? They made no attempts to find you and kill you? There was no pursuit. I thought I'd see their black blades the very next day. Instead, the years passed without them taking my heart. I tried starting a new life, but the terror never stopped eating away at me. When I got truly desperate, I went to the Temple of Death myself, but no one there would speak to me. When I gave them my name, they just whispered, "Sebrid has gone to the Undying One." They looked through me like I wasn't even there. I've lived like this for 20 years, like a coward, like a dead man. Have you killed any more innocent souls since you ran? No, I've been afraid to touch my own knife since that day. I thought it might just stab me on its own, but the temptation is always there. You do not sound particularly remorseful. I've spent years in remorse. I'm tired of it. I will not judge you, nor will I decide your fate. Farewell. No, what about the symbol, the portent? You were supposed to... The man's tired eyes fill with horror that quickly turns into hysteria. His knees buckle, and he staggers heavily before falling onto the tracks with a pitiful cry. No! Help! Cabela stares at the remains of he who was once her brother in service. Truly, it is better to die for him than to live for yourself. This he forgot.
I won't tolerate weakness.
So I'm wondering if the level has changed as a result of... sure looks like it. A boot print has smudged this symbol slightly. The trail leads towards the slums. If we are indeed following in the footsteps of a saint, the God Emperor would be pleased if we saw this path through to the end.
I'll lay claim to the...
Oh, here we go.
A new challenge.
I was debating, by the way, on killing the guy because that seemed to be what he wanted, but I didn't like the line where it's like, "You're scum." The longer you stare at the mark, the quieter the sounds of the station become. The shadows grow longer and seem to stretch in the direction of the adjacent section. Following the symbols will enable the proper categorization of a yet unregistered crew subdivision and the location of a yet unmapped compartment. Method approved.
Attention to detail is the key.
Sorry, we already made the blood symbols on the ground. So I would have guessed it would have been somewhere around here, seeing as we already saw the cultists.
None shall stand in my way.
Oh, there we go. You're just wandering around in the dark looking for the light, but it's nowhere to be found. Do you really not see it? There's a blood symbol next to you. I have seen such marks before. Is this another part of the Song of Trailing Blood? Zedna bursts into hysterical laughter. Oh yes, the song. Here, listen, listen. The woman starts chanting hurriedly. She wandered an eternity in the dark, yet was consoled, web foretold. Undying one's blood secrets glowed, a light to guide her faithful fold. But threads must end, and so the spider did that which was owed, her life and death to ship bestowed. The final test, this time, they want you to make a sacrifice. If one were to interpret this entire mystical search as a repetition of the saint's journey, then the logical conclusion here is that you are supposed to sacrifice yourself to merge with the blood that has drenched the flagship from bow to stern. She laughs again, and you'll see if you learn to see. Look into the darkness. Look. I cannot fathom what I am meant to see here. You peer into the darkness and are gradually able to make out the outlines of objects hidden in the shadows. Rotting corpses, rough walls, the twitching death throes of infected people left here to die. You see no light in this place, only more darkness and despair. You don't see, do you? You don't see! Zedna shakes her head frantically and starts tearing off her rags. Strips of her decaying flesh peel off along with them. You will not see until you become like Zedna, the flesh and blood of the ship. How do I become the flagship's blood? Oh, Zedna will show you, and you will see the true light. Come now. Plunge into the ventilation shaft and become the flagship's blood. YOLO! The rotating blades promise nothing but a senseless and brutal death. Slipping past them would require some unreasonably precise calculations or blind luck. While listening to the air currents, for a moment you think you hear Zedna's whispered prayer rising from the depths of the shaft. Death cultists are sacred executioners who worship the Emperor through slaughter and bloodshed. Their grim faith and chilling rituals instill a superstitious dread in ordinary people. Domin Constantinos, the Undying One has whispered that you would honor the Temple of Death with a visit. We are ready to serve you.
Victory awaits!
Got anything for this rash? Yeah, I don't like a 55% chance on... Domin Constantinos, the Undying One. Actually, what I will do, I will save, just because I want to see what failure looks like.
That didn't go as I'd hoped.
Not as bad as I thought. I mean, fatigued over what looks like a certain death isn't that bad, but...
I'll lay claim to the stars.
I don't know if it's... I'm gonna guess it wouldn't be seeded, but... Tangles of improvised bridges constructed from beams and flooring stretch ever higher. Not unlike a web, the temple is growing as if it were a living organism.
I won't tolerate weakness. Something of interest.
It is kind of interesting to be given a challenge that, like, I have to do solo. I don't always get to see that. Or at least I feel like I don't get to see that in RPGs that much. Cold stone sarcophagi serve as the death cultists' beds. The bones of their deceased comrades are their bedding.
Follow my lead.
Part of the cultist service to the Undying One involves turning the corpses of the departed into sacred altars for their blood-anointed congregation to pray at. Death cultist bows his head reverently. Okay, 60% chance on Medicaid.
I did fine.
Smoke tickles your nostrils, making you slightly dizzy. Such substances are known to induce visions or hallucinations. Underneath the ancient relic is a stone plaque with an inscription carved in elegant cursive. If you value life above duty, you are not worthy of life. Vizier Geophranus. How'd you all get down here?
None shall stand in my way.
Crimson torrent flows from the statue's hands, a symbol of the countless deaths offered up in his name. A frail old man, gray beard tinged with blood, folds his wrinkled hands in a ritual gesture. His body is covered in scars, some old, some fresh. His eyes are sewn tightly shut. His mouth is a cleft at both corners, making his jaw seem eerily snake-like. And the Lord of the Ark walked the paths of unlife in the footsteps of the web's very first spinner. And the servants of death bowed before him, for the Domin is the giver of life. The old man goes still, his head turned to the side. He nods towards the temple's muffled silence. Yes, yes, truth like a stream pours from your lips. We welcome him as the tenants demand. A servant of death who sees beyond the threshold, a spider who spins a cocoon at the end of this thread. Idira shakes her head and clutches her temples. Sorry about that, it just came over me. I didn't say anything too weird, did I? A thin blade appears in the old man's trembling hands. Although his arms are stiff and look like they can barely bend, in the next instant the dynasty's symbol is etched on his forehead, dripping blood. With a brief motion, he flicks the blood off his blade, and several drops land on your face. The blood-spun web welcomes its new lord. I am the Vizier. For many years we have waited, and now you are here. We have waited, whispers echo his words from the shadows. So you just walked my companions in here the normal way while I was forced to make the jump? How did you manage to erect an entire temple in the middle of the ship without anybody noticing? I've walked the path of the matriarch spider. What now? The song of trailing blood tells of a path fraught with trials. By accepting it and setting out on that path, you pass the first one, the trial of resolve. For not everyone is prepared to shun their fear and doubt and embark on a search for the unknown, a search for death The trial of compassion was the second one. You passed it when you put yourself, albeit briefly, in the service of another soul, a man suffering from burns. For the choice between life and death is to be made only by those willing to take responsibility for the pain of another. The third was a trial of justice. In assuming the role of judge for an apostate of our faith, you declared your right to influence the balance of life and death that the errant soul had upset. And the fourth was the trial of duty, for duty always leads to death. We are prepared to render our duty to the Undying One, fearless and accepting of our purpose, which is to serve him. You too have proven yourself prepared, and the 4 trials have brought you here. The path I have walked has helped me understand myself better. For the tenets teach us the lesson learned is in itself the supreme reward for one who is open to self-discovery. The vizier's sewn shut eyes seem to peer into your face, studying it. Then he turns away and speaks into empty space again. Peace, my brother. The time has almost come. I see your eyes are sewn shut. Are you blind, or is that another of the cult's rituals? I was sighted for much of my life until a disciple of mine violated the tenets, and I realized just how blind I had been. A lesson, but a bitter one. To look with one's eyes alone is to be easily fooled, but the heart cannot be lied to. Such is the truth, and such was my choice. I sealed my eyelids with a gaze of true sight. Now I see more and better. Who is it you talk to all the time? The vizier turns his head as if looking around the temple. I see echoes of those who came before us and those who were with us, but have since crossed to the other side. My brothers and sisters raised by the cult. I hear them from beyond their deaths. They share their wisdom. I heed them. The other spinners they hear not, for that burden is mine to bear. So this entire conversation is another test, I imagine. A smile graces the vizier's bluish lips. The tenets command us to be prepared for all trials, corporeal and spiritual alike. Are you prepared, Domin Konstantinos? His mouth closes, but you can still hear his whisper. A prickling sensation in your face is making you increasingly anxious. You raise a hand to your cheek, and only to realize you can't feel it. You look at your palm to see a few smudged drops of blood from the vizier's blade. A strange serene calm envelops your body. Your fatigue subsides, and you seem to float in the air, seeing things you had not noticed before. The shadows in the corners taking on shape and color, the subdued lumen light playing on the cultists' bone masks. Are they really masks? Their tall, lean, empty-eyed wearers might as well be dead people. A chill runs down your spine. Look around the temple. One moment, the walls of Death's Sanctum grow infinitely wide. The next, they are so narrow as to make it hard to breathe. The floor dances under your feet, and the undying Emperor's statue seems to shake its head threateningly as it looks down upon you. What is the meaning of this? Your heart is beating slowly. Your breathing has become deeper. Your thoughts are muddied. You seem to be under the influence of a potent stimulant. You poisoned me somehow, did you not? The vizier nods meekly. My blood is infused with a concoction taken by those who follow the thread. It is sacred and harmless to us, but to you it befogs and afflicts. And yet, Domin Konstantinos, you have grasped the mind may fail the body and the senses. This was the trial of spiritual acumen. You passed it. And what happens now? That is for you to tell me. You look at the vizier, and his trembling frame seems small and insignificant. A single step is all it would take to crush him, but the visions are starting to wear off, and now the old man towers over you. The keen gaze of his sealed eyes is studying your every movement, waiting for a response. Now you are going to initiate me as a servant of death. The vizier ponders your words for a long time, whispers something to the empty space behind his shoulder, then shakes his twitching head. Our threat is repellent to you, Domin Konstantinos. You proved it by walking the matriarch's path in your own way. It is your right, and we respect your choice. However, only one who accepts the essence of death may become its servant. You accept your own essence, and we dare not burden you with our dogma. For years we have maintained fealty to the Domini. We have collected sacred symbols and relics. You were the first in 3 generations of lords and ladies to descend into this sanctum. We are grateful. We are uplifted in spirit. Hear our exaltation and accept this gift of a vestment sewn from the bones of his faithful with the threads of death. That which was foretold has come to pass. The ritual of descent is complete. Now be this temple's guest of honor and rest a while.
A soldier would have been disciplined for such a performance. Who thought that was a good idea? Compared to naval service, that was barely a challenge.
A new challenge for me?
A spinner, his face covered in carved bleeding glyphs, makes a respectful gesture of invitation. Let me show you the way, Domin. Wait, what? The spinner points his finger upward at the ventilation shaft through which you reached the temple the first time. The path to where the lay people dwell is complex, web-like. Let me show you. Take me to the enforcer in charge of the freight line hub. I have business with him. I was going to try and do something on the planet, but it looks like we are... It's funny, actually, I think I originally said I was going to... I was done exploring the ship, but clearly I wasn't. So yeah, my original intention was to try and... The bulky doors lead to the Enforcer's living quarters and the hub's provision depots. This is the last of the hub's vials for this work cycle. Do you have any idea how much it costs? There, 57 ration cards. It's all I got, I swear. Spend the rest on rock gun again, I'm guessing. I'm not doing you any more favors. Give up the drink or get used to life in the pestilence pit. I hope you get hit by a train.
Victory awaits.
But yeah, so I was originally going to try and do some quests on the planet. I don't mind doing this. This was interesting. I don't really know that much about the death cults, and the thing that's funny is it occurred to me that I actually play a blade dancer or whatever these are. Basically, I've played one of the cultists in is it it's not Inquisitor, it's oh hell, it's the ARPG, like Warhammer 40k Diablo. Just give me a minute. Warhammer 40k Inquisitor Martyr. So yeah, I've probably learned more about that part of the lore from this game than playing Martyr as a cultist. Lord Captain! The Enforcer quickly puts the safety on his flamer and points the nozzle away from you. How may I serve you? What are you doing? Burning the poor shacks, Lord Captain. The rabble build them, cutting off the air supply to the next bay and making it difficult for the Inferni to work. We've told the serfs to get out of here time to time, but they won't listen. Captain Fresno has ordered everything to be burned down, and afterward, the area to be sealed off. I have no questions. Proud to serve the dynasty.
Nothing's impossible for this old officer. An expected result.
Yeah, so this round here is going to be about just trying to collect any of the other... A group of gawkers are crowding around a makeshift stage, watching a strange duo perform. A man with odd-looking goggles pushed up on his forehead, hands wrapped in worn leather gloves, plays a tune on a handmade flute. Next to him sits a stack of crates supporting some kind of game board. A scruffy rat is rolling small glass balls across the board. Watch the game. Several workers empty their pockets and start throwing ration cards, bolt nuts, and even a few power panels into a small chest next to the board. The flute player winks at the crowd and switches to a different tune. The rat squeaks excitedly and starts rolling the colorful balls the players have chosen around the maze of tunnels on the board. But as not a single one reaches the goal, a hole marked with a red circle. The rat just rolls all the balls off the board or into dead ends. Once the first group of players gets their hopes dashed and leave empty-handed, new workers immediately take their place. Watch the rat. The rat scurries around the board, scurried on by the flute. Its movements appear erratic at first glance, but after a while you notice how consistently the balls seem to miss the goal at the very last moment. While the rat's clumsy, amusing scampering distracts the spectators, its nimble tail directs the balls away from the hole. Listen to the tune. The rat's movements, from the flicks of its tail to when and where it pushes the balls, obey its master's wordless commands with uncanny precision. The notes, the pulses, the rhythm, every part of the melody serves as a signal to the flute player's tiny assistant. Solve the mystery of the trick by analyzing its individual elements. Your mind eliminates all irrelevant factors, the ruffling of cards, the clamor of bolt nuts, the excited gestures of naive folk believing in luck where calculation reigns. There is only the game and its structural components, a skillfully crafted melody, and a trained pet that is smarter than it looks. Where others hear music, you discern a series of coded directives being issued to the flute player's tiny accomplice. The rat distracts the spectators with a show of clumsiness while precisely following its master's commands. That is how the balls just happen to roll past the goal, much to the chagrin of the participants. You there, why are you idling about and distracting other workers? The crowd, which has been much too absorbed in the performance to notice your presence, turns to you, expressions of frightful awe appearing on the workers' faces. Many start whispering prayers. The man stops playing and shrugs, a guilty smile crossing his face. I haven't had to work for who knows how many watches now, and even if they did give me work, the enforcers would just rob me of my earnings afterwards. So I found a calling after my own heart. I trade fortune for ration cards. The folks around here peddle away what little they have to spare anyway, so why can't I? The crowd echoes his words in cautious agreement. Perhaps you'd like to trade us some of that captain's fortune of yours, your lordship. The flute player bows respectfully and gestures at the game board. The crowd buzzes with anticipation. Who are you? I am but one of many. The man gestures broadly at the teeming station. A voice in the crowd, a cog in the mechanism, his humble servant. Flute player is all they call me, because that's what I am. I make up tunes and give people respite after a hard day's work. That is a curious-looking flute. How did you come by it? He pats his instrument gently. My mother loved music. She used to hum beautiful melodies for me, and when she passed away, I carved this flute from her hip bone and learned to play, out of sorrow and respect for her memory. Play one of the local favorites for me. The flute player smiles and mysteriously brings the flute to his lips. A simple, brisk melody pours out of the instrument. The glum faces of workers and traders soften a little, and the tunnels around you seem less squalid than before. Long after the music has stopped, many continue to whistle the unassuming ditty. A flute needs no words to sing, but I am curious to know what story your melody tells. The flute player awkwardly adjusts the goggles on his forehead. The story of a simple man from the lower decks, honest with himself and others. He risks his life to protect the oppressed from those corrupted by power. He takes from the rich and gives to the needy. He helps without asking anything in return. Nemesis, hero of tales, admired by children and grown folk alike. By opposing legitimate authority, your vile Nemesis tramples on the creed, and everyone who glorifies him is a criminal. May good times come for you one day, and then there will be no need for songs about fighting injustice. In the meantime, strive to lift the people's spirits, flute player. The crowd nods in approval. The excited whispers merge into a single prayer for your health. The flute player smiles. For a humble servant, there is no greater reward than his lord's approval. I will try my best to inspire as many of your subjects with music as I can. Gesture at the board. Are you suggesting we play a game? The flute player smiles eagerly. Please, bless our little lark with your attention. Explain the rules of this game to me. It's simple. On this board, you play with fate. Choose a ball and give it to Bolts, my rat. If she rolls your ball into the pocket marked red within 3 minutes, you win. If she doesn't, you lose. Simple. I'll give it a try. The man readies his flute, and the rat dives under the board. You hear clawed feet scrabbling against the crate, and a few moments later, a green ball pops out of the center. The rat almost manages to get the ball into the hole, but sharply changes direction right at the last moment. Then it happens again and again. At last, the ball hits a dead end, signifying your defeat. Another round, your lordship? The man bows his head with a slight smile. You know, I've heard wise visitors from higher up say that this little game offers more than just amusement. They say it's an opportunity to test different strategies, to learn more about others and yourself. I know you are cheating. Get out of my sight before I report you to the enforcers. The man raises his hands. The strong need nothing more than words to win. I will remember this important lesson, your lordship. With an obedient bow, he slings the bag with the rat inside over his shoulder, then puts the flute to a simple case. I wouldn't dare try your patience further. May we meet again, Lord Captain. See, the aim here was more to try and protect the people he was cheating.
Compared to naval service, that was barely a challenge.
It's about time.
I guess that was it. Apparently not. There's loot all over the place that I haven't... Well, that clearly wasn't it. I'm a little split on the size of the level. Like, in one sense, it's a good thing. But on the other... Oh, yes, I see. On the other hand, I've clearly missed a couple of opportunities. Anyway. Interesting solution, Lord Captain. Throwing the claws jammed again. Now we have to attach it to the container manually. Crane activated, Lord Captain.
I'll lay claim to the stars.
Someone has sketched a hasty portrait of a worker with a red scarf over his face. The artwork still reeks of chemical pigment. Judging by the layer of flaked-off paint, it has been removed several times already. Ah, who are you? No, shh, don't make any noise. They shot everyone. Please don't tell them. I just want the loot, man.
Nothing's impossible for this old officer.
Even in a place as dismal as this, people have managed to set up a small altar at which to pray. It is relatively clean and well maintained. The day the Lord Captain wandered into our slum will be remembered in legends. The broad-shouldered man raises a hand in greeting. His old prosthetic creaks plaintively as it takes the weight of his body. Locals and enforcers call me the foreman. I have no other name. You might say I'm in charge here in this hole of a place. You recognize the shaggy red beard and the keen black eyes. This is the man who was watching you during your encounter with the enforcer and this station worker. I saw you near the marketplace. What were you doing there? Watching one of my workers take a beating. I feel sorry for the lad, but there was nothing I could do. The foreman smiles wryly, showing his yellowed teeth. Almost all of the front ones have been knocked out. I've stuck my neck out in the past. Not doing it again. What is life like for the workers on the lower decks? They toil day in and day out for the glory of the ship. The rest of the time, they do their best to survive, faced with hunger. The more deranged of the enforcers, void leprosy, fires, floods, and noxious fumes. The foreman lists these on his fingers, although he has fewer than nature's average to work with. In a word, it's a decent enough life. If you work, you survive. If you freeload, you also survive. If you're clever, well, and if the God Emperor wills it. What are you cooking in the vat? Believe it or not, the soup made from mold slime and technical drain water has been simmering in this vat for at least 200 years non-stop. See the growth on the walls over there? We harvest it, dry it, and use it to season the soup. If we're lucky, the smell attracts a void rat and someone gets to have meat in their bowl. The foreman points a finger proudly toward the vat. It's for those who can't even earn a ration card. I feed them in exchange for services or favors. Sometimes it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. My people keep an eye out for the workers trying to eat 2 bowls in one sitting. One is enough to fill your stomach for an entire watch. Some complain about the taste, of course. Ingrates. Give me some of that soup. Let my servants see that any food is a great blessing. I don't think that's a good idea. Mold slime is something of an acquired taste. Takes 2 years, maybe 3 for your stomach to get used to it. Lord Captain, you must be joking, surely. As if. He's serious as a void kraken. Pour me a bowl. I know what I'm doing. As you wish. Foreman holds you a bowl of hot, viscous sludge. The smell could be worse. Probably. Substance analysis complete. The outlook is dim. It is recommended that you dispatch authorized units to locate an appropriate successor. A bubble rises out of the soup and bursts with a malodorous squelch. You can feel your noble insides protest against the crime you are intent on committing. It is not too late to come to your senses. Many fine delicacies have a foul smell and an unsightly appearance. Onward to culinary discoveries. With the first spoonful comes the immediate urge to regurgitate the disgusting sludge. The heave is followed by dizziness, yet you stoically persist and force a slimy chunk of something indeterminate down your throat. The crowd is gawking at you, wide-eyed. Glory to the Emperor, who nourishes us. Your words echo in absolute silence, which lasts only a moment before the starving poor erupt into prayers to you and to him, tears glistening in their eyes. The Lord Captain himself has tried our food and found it worthy. Remember to be grateful for any nourishment, as it is a blessing. The foreman bellows and roars while discreetly interposing himself between you and the crowd of ecstatic commoners who look like they might otherwise swarm and accidentally trample their overlord in a frenzy of adoration. Lord Captain, I beg another second of your attention. Please accept this humble gift from us, the common people of the Bay, for all the good you do us, the most precious thing we could get for your lordship. So you can kind of see some of the directions I'm trying to take on this. This is not unlike how I tried Mass Effect, which was to recognize sort of this leadership role involves how do I put it? Like the acts of heroism are, or the perks of the job are, they're sort of necessary functions, I guess. That you're not just somebody who got or like lucked into the contract and now you get to live live the life of a billionaire or whatever, but the role is to like you are the captain of the ship, you need to make sure that it's running as well as possible. And I would say in the face of a mutiny, sort of the idea here would be to do as much as possible to address the problems before. So if that means eating something weird, then I'm going to have to live with it. Captain Frenzo has acquired a few wounds since your last conversation. Half his ear is gone, and you notice that he is wearing bloodied bandages under his uniform. Seeing you, he quickly injects himself with a stimulant and straightens. How may I serve you, Lord Captain? Were you in a shootout? Yes, there's been a raid on a local gang. We finally cleared out the scoundrels who were smuggling goods to neighboring compartments. No one escaped. Frenzo permits himself a brief smile of grim satisfaction. I came across a drawing of a worker in a red mask. What does it mean? Captain frowns. It's a figure of local legend known as Nemesite, protector of the poor and oppressed. Ever since I was a child, desperate people have been drawing his portrait on the walls, hoping to summon a defender to punish those that wrong them. We've had 13 or so fools calling themselves Nemesite over the past 5 years. We disburdened ourselves of them, just to be sure. The cultural heritage of this compartment is interesting. Not much can be expected from simple-minded serfs. I was attacked. Frenzo lets out a menacing growl as his face fills with blood. Who dared? I encountered mutants in the pestilence pit. They seemed to be under the influence of unholy powers. You went to the pestilence pit? You! Into the pestilence pit! Frenzo stares off into the distance as he speaks. Pardon me, Lord Captain. I just can't even begin to find words that I would use if I had to tell the Master-at-Arms that you had perished in there. He rubs his temple wearily. The enforcers do regular checks to see if there are any dangerous blight-stricken rejects hiding at the bottom of the bay. I implore you, Lord Captain, leave this job to us. Enforcers have been appropriating ration cards from workers returning from their shifts. Why is that? Are you short on provisions? The compartment has just enough food to avoid starvation, Lord Captain. This is why the enforcers are making sure that no serf has more cards than they're supposed to. They used to rip out people's tongues for it, but I reduced the punishment to simply beating the thieves and confiscating all their cards. The orders are to give these cards to workers who are starving due to a lack of work shifts. Not that it helps them much, but it's better than nothing, Frenzo scoffs. Are these enforcers guilty of misappropriating the confiscated items? Yes. Do those caught stealing receive severe punishment? Absolutely. I finished inspecting this bay. The captain raises a wary eyebrow. Will there be any orders based on the inspection's conclusions? I'm going to go up. So I'm satisfied in all regards. Carry on your duty as before. Heretical smile insinuatingly. The source of all this compartment's woes and hunger are hunger and poverty, which is driving those people to commit petty crimes. I'm sure you would have done something by now, but there are certain rules you have to follow that are simply too limiting. Isn't that right? Dogmatic. Only harsh measures will bring order to the bay. Establish an execution quota, strip all corrupt enforcers of their rank, and burn away all crime. Any idlers are to be given a job, and if they cannot do anything useful, servitorize them. Organize mandatory sermons and spread the word of faith. Or, the workers are to be provided with everything they need to service the freight line properly. Food and medicine will be delivered to the bay, and you are to demote any enforcers found to be abusing their authority to the status of workers. It is interesting to see. You have cost, or see costs for doing the right thing. The captain needs a moment to handle his confusion. Orders understood. Be steadfast in your duty, Captain Frenzo. The Emperor protects, Lord Captain. Lord Captain, here to report. Your orders have been carried out. The compartment is already operating according to the new procedure. Does this mean that I need to go through again and see?
Victory awaits!
There may be more, but I think at this point we should probably do something else with our time. So I'm trying to see if I can maybe get rid of the suspicious rash. The soothing water caresses your senses, and your grateful muscles welcome the chance to rest. A pleasant languor spreads through your body as you allow yourself a moment of quiet relaxation. Relax and close your eyes. The tension slowly retreats as you bring yourself to complete stillness. Joint by joint, muscle by muscle, pore by pore, before long you've surrendered the bastion of your body to the bliss of oblivion. Troubles, worries, loss. Such things do not belong in this newly established dominion of tranquility. There are only the infinite waters of weightlessness, in which, stripped of all things superficial, the mind of Constantinos von Valancius drifts in silent bliss. This moment of serenity soon fades. The body reclaims the mind, binding it once again to the familiar shell of flesh, sinew, and bone. I wish to see someone from my retinue. Which of them would you like me to summon, your lordship? I noticed Argenta isn't an option this time, so... Kibala, I wish to learn more about the tenets of the web. At once. Kibala silently appears by your side. You ask to see me, Domin Constantinos. You wish to learn more of the cult's rites. Very well. Since you are in the water, I can introduce you to a rare disciple of the blood-spun web known as controlled self-drowning. Few receive this honor, with water being so precious on a ship. Still, it has opened my eyes to many truths. Intriguing. Teach me. Close your eyes and trust me. Reject your fear and remember, you have carried death within you since birth. This ritual is simply a meeting between you and your oldest friend. You close your eyes and hear a quiet splash. Kibala has entered the pool. She puts her hands around your neck and gently pushes you under the water. As your lungs start to burn, she pulls you back to the surface, allowing you to take a single breath of air before she begins to drown you again. This process repeats several times, and she holds you beneath the surface a little longer with each plunge. The fourth descent lasts an eternity, but her hands prevent you from resurfacing. As your empty lungs burn, you start to panic. You fight against your fear as the darkness swallows you, and soon it gives way to peace. As you listen to the soft whisper of the water around you, you realize that death is the end and the beginning. There are no worries here, and no mistakes. There is only you. You and the infinite nothing. Just as nothing is about to claim you, you are gently lifted from the emptiness of oblivion. Domin Constantinos, you have been touched by death. What was it like? Death, it is nothing, and yet it is everything. Now you understand the tenets of the web more fully. I will leave you to reflect on this experience. You are alone once more. The Master of Ablutions stands at the ready, patiently awaiting your command. Finish your ablutions. You feel revitalized. This was truly an experience worthy of a rogue trader. Still got the weird rash. I'm actually going to take a quick look to see if there's a way of getting rid of that. So apparently there's a quest. Oh, here we go. A cure for a rash. The Lord Captain spent too much time in the pestilence pit by the void ship's freight line, and now his skin is covered in inflamed blisters. There must be someone on board who knows how to purge the rogue trader's body of this affliction. That was... yeah. Okay, I did just see the rest on the screen. So it apparently I can go to the Void Ship Shrine and speak to Jocasta. We're a pious sort of fellow, so let's go to the shrine. Every ship of the Imperium has shrines. This is where the servants of the Ecclesiarchy watch over the purity of the crew's faith and fortify its members' spirits on journey after journey through the dark corners of the galaxy where unthinkable horrors lurk. You recite a prayer, the one you remember best. The Emperor protects your lordship. What brings you to this holy abode? A strange rash broke out all over my body after my visit to the lower decks. Can you help me? Adalbert carefully studies the inflamed blisters on your skin. An affliction of the unclean, your lordship. Those who have abandoned his light and shunned all care of the body as well as the spirit. Allow me to cleanse your mortal flesh of the seeds of corruption with a sanative prayer. Let us pray, Confessor. Adalbert opens a hefty volume titled The Sanative Hymn of Sufferers and recites the first 40 verses in a chanting voice. 2 hours of incessant prayer later, despite your knees and shoulders burning with strain, your inflamed skin still torments you with unbearable itching. Continue the prayer. The vigil continues for 2 more hours straight. Your mind is clearer and you feel much better, but it is still not enough to rid you of the affliction. And bless thy loyal servant, so strength and health may return to the body that guards the borders of the Imperium. Endure and pray. At some point, the ship's evening gong breaks your stupor, and you note with surprise that your abscessed blisters are gone, and your skin is now barely even red where it was previously inflamed. Adalbert dabs at the sweat on his brow with the edge of his robe and smiles warmly. The God Emperor never abandons his faithful, your lordship. Rest now. You will soon feel much better. So that was a little bit of a cheat there, but I also didn't realize the quest. So I have hit the 3-hour mark. I am debating on a chat with my companions. But maybe while we're getting ready to wrap up, I am curious. I did say this a little earlier. So the way I'm feeling about this right now is I like this game, but the one thing I've kind of been looking for over the past few streams is like a real champion for sort of for the game. Like I've been sort of looking for this positive statement of I would like to see more of this. And, you know, it's hard, right? Because I know some of the appeal for the stream is just for people to kind of kick back and hear what I'm talking about or whatever. But the thing is that I'm not entirely sure that this is the best out of all the options that I could be playing right now.
Greetings.
And as a consequence, I'm wondering, or at least I'm thinking that maybe next week I will maybe do some more Zephon and Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop and things like that. And I won't rule out playing more of this game, but I'll maybe play it a little bit less regularly than I have for now. So if you do want to see more of this, I am definitely not set on not playing this, right? Like I'm mostly just trying to take the signal that I've got in terms of what people sort of have demonstrated they're most interested in seeing. So if you don't want to see this, let me know. If you do want to see more of this, also let me know, because it may mean that right now my current plan might be to play less than what people want. And if you're indifferent, I mean, I'm happy if people say that they're indifferent as well. But, it just means that I have a little more flexibility in terms of what I play. Anyways, let's see if we can...
Domin.
Bella puts away the dagger she has been using to reopen her freshly closed wounds. I would like to know more about the sacred mysteries of the death cult.
The Vizier taught us that there are many like us throughout the Imperium who spill blood in his name. Death cultists, as they call us. He said that no two death cults are the same, just as there are no two identical stars in the void. I will tell you about the blood-spun web, but I cannot speak on behalf of all death cults.
What is the cult's purpose?
The blood-spun web holds the bays of the flagship together with the threads of its faith. Such is our service to the Domini of the von Valancius line. The Undying One commanded the Domini to embark on a ship and sail the void's expanse. And thus, it became our duty to protect your dynasty and the Ark that became its home. This great relic of blood and adamantine. Some loathe and fear us. They call us murderers and reapers. Others call us dancers of death, who send the souls of the dead on their way. Both are right. Both are wrong. We are servants of the undying Emperor. When he whispers that the time has come for a righteous martyr's soul to be laid in his blessed hands, we come to claim it. When he whispers that the wicked must know of his wrath, we come to reap. This is how we maintain order on the ship, unseen and guided by death's will.
You hear a whisper in your mind telling you to kill someone and you obey? Oh, have you ever considered that these whispers could be a deception orchestrated by minions of the archenemy?
Death's whisper is unmistakable. It is not like the murmur of stars or the hiss of corruption. It is truthful, pure, unyielding. Only the most eminent of us, the High Spinners, can hear the whisper of the Undying One and give voice to his will. They must hone their senses and temper their body and soul for years before his call can reach them. If it puts you more at ease, you can think of these whispers as his providence.
How do you know you've never made a mistake? How can you be sure that you've never wrongly robbed one of your victims of their life?
We are carried along by a current of blood in the great river of fate. Life is not given or taken away by chance. If I see an enemy of humanity, my blade will sever the thread of their existence. I will not wait for a sign of his divine bidding. I am his will, and I do what must be done.
That earlier bit, by the way, in terms of the voice of death, I don't know how many of you have seen Westworld. I think... I know the episode name is Riddle of the Sphinx. And I'm genuinely trying to remember if it's season 2 or season 1. I'm pretty sure it's season 2. But Ed Harris, playing the Man in Black, has this great monologue with like he's with sort of this Confederate type who's talking about, you know, how he's come back from the dead and how he's friends with death. And the Man in Black gets this nice moment. I mean, it's before a fight scene, so it's also kind of great. And it's Ed Harris who knows how to deliver a line. But the dialogue goes, you know, you think death favors you, that it brought you back. But death's decisions are final. It's only the living that are inconstant and waver. Don't know who they are or what they want. Death is always true. You haven't known a true thing in all your life. You think that you know death, but you don't. And the Major replies, is that so? You didn't recognize him sitting across from you this whole time. Obviously, it requires someone who can actually act to be able to deliver that line in a convincing way, but it's a really, really great. If you get a chance to look it up on YouTube, it's a pretty great moment, particularly because there's this turn for the character that I think is a really interesting one. It's a well done. I haven't really seen that much. I think I've only seen 2 seasons of it, and from what I hear, it sort of ended rather abruptly. I don't know. There's a couple things that I could, you know, I could do without in terms of the series, but what I saw of it, I thought was really interesting. So, let us speak of something else. How long has the blood-spun web been in existence?
Spinners carved the chronicles of our history on the stones of our temple long ago. But fate and time have erased our past, just as an exploding star erases a part of the galaxy from existence.
What are the responsibilities of the Vizier?
It is the Vizier's duty to watch over the flock, to lead those who want to learn more of the Undying One, but are fearful of death, and guide those who seek answers in death, but do not know how to live. The Vizier protects all, those who do not know we exist, those who are grateful for our service, and even those who hate us. The Vizier sees what is to come, remembers the past, and accepts the present. They spin a web of faith and blood so strong that no enemy may sunder it. This is the Vizier's burden. This is the legacy of the Matriarch Spider.
Who was the Matriarch Spider?
It is said that she was one of many, born in the void, the Domin's subject. She honored death instead of life, and for this, she was persecuted. It is said that when the arch-enemy's forces invaded the flagship during a warp jump, she gathered the Undying One's servants around her and saved the ship from ruin. Together, they spun the first threads of the web to ensure that such devastation would never happen again. It is said that she was strong and indomitable, but as the years passed, her heart became as stone, and thus the Undying One whispered her name to the one who would become the first Vizier of the blood-spun web.
Why do you call yourselves spinners?
Through blood, sweat, tears, and the strength of their convictions, the servants of the Undying One spin the souls of your subjects into threads of balance. This is why we refer to ourselves as spinners. Those who are newly committed to the blood-spun web are called lesser spinners. If they are faithful in their service to him, they may eventually become spinners. The most devout of us all are known as the High Spinners, of whom there are 7, each bearing a unique title. The Vizier, the first spinner, leads the cult. I, Kibella, am the second spinner. The third spinner's name is Io, and there are 4 more.
You say the God Emperor is death, but there are some who might find the comparison blasphemous.
The Undying One is death itself. We serve him, and thus we serve death. This is not a comparison, attribution, or preference. It is the truth, and nothing can change it.
Can you teach me to follow the tenets of the blood-spun web?
The tenets are knowledge, an art that is passed down from one generation of the blood-spun web to the next. Even so, there are spinners who will never fully comprehend this knowledge in the time allotted to them by the Undying One. The tenets dictate how one follows the thread of life, but they are also the thread itself, from first breath to last. The tenets cannot be taught, they must be lived. Only then will you understand.
You've satisfied my curiosity, for now. Cabela nods slightly. Tell me about yourself.
I am the second spinner of the blood-spun web. A spear in the hand of the Undying Emperor. I am your shield and shadow. Your blade.
How succinct. Do you dislike talking about yourself? A look of curiosity flashes across Cabela's face before it is masked by her usual stoic indifference.
The tenets compel us to let our deeds speak on our behalf. There is no one in the cult who does not know me, so I have grown accustomed to taciturnity in matters regarding myself. Ask, and I will try to give you an answer that will satisfy your thirst for knowledge.
Tell me about your past.
I remember nothing of my childhood. The Vizier says this is because of my training and the injuries I received in battle. He told me it is the fate of all high spinners. The only memories I have are of the blood-spun web and the brothers and sisters who serve the cult alongside me.
What was it like growing up in the cult? What do you remember?
When we were young, we would sew our eyes shut and wander through the bays for months at a time. Starving, surviving, dying. This trial of darkness honed the senses of those who passed it. We were elated, for we knew we were blessed by him. When we grew older, we learned to wield our weapons, and our mentors tested us with pain, poison, and the weight of deceitful words. In time, our bodies no longer felt pain. Our blood became resistant to toxins, and our focus could not be shaken. We were at peace, for we had shed everything that could encumber our faithful service to him. When we came of age, we faced a great trial, a year-long vigil spent in unceasing prayer to the Undying One. When hunger and other base sensations faded away, we attained true comprehension of ourselves and our place in the world, our place between life and death. We were proud, for on that day, He truly accepted us, and we accepted him.
I can see now why you're the best assassin in the cult. The cost was worth it.
Those who devote themselves to the service of the Undying One must be prepared to pay any price. Emotions, blood, life, death, memory. We all must lose what we hold most dear to become a spear in his hand. Some may lose everything, but they will also gain everything.
Your parents, your family, you never mentioned them.
When we join the cult, we relinquish our past. The blood-spun web becomes our new family. I have seen the pain, terror, and doubt in the eyes of those who hear the Undying One whisper the names of their kin. For some, the blessing of oblivion is a gift not unlike death.
Do you not wish to know what became of your family?
No.
The answer escapes Cabela's lips before she can give it any thought. Upon realizing this, she produces a small blade seemingly out of nowhere and begins to sharpen it with pointed nonchalance. You may not remember your real family, but are you truly so unconcerned by the deaths of your fellow cultists?
It brings me comfort when my brothers and sisters cross to the other side. The Undying One has called them to his side, so they can serve him in ways we cannot.
I presume you have no friends either.
Attachment makes us weak. The weak meet their demise prematurely. But such death does not please the Undying One, for a soul must not be claimed before their time has come. It is true that spinners occasionally cross paths with those outside the cult, but such paths always diverge in the end. We may walk the same road together, but we are nothing more than temporary traveling companions. It is similar for those of your retinue. Our threads may intertwine for a time, but all will go their separate ways, as is inevitable. But not you and I, Domin. Our threads cannot be unwoven, and only the Undying One will end my service to you.
I understand you better now.
Know your enemy and prevail in battle. Know your ally and prevail in war.
Do you truly feel no pain at all?
You can see for yourself.
Cabela removes a small leather pouch from her belt and opens it to reveal several instruments of torture. What are those?
Tools for tempering the flesh. If a spinner neglects this practice for too long, their body will weaken and their sensitivity to pain might return. If it does, they will feel the overwhelming agony of every wound they have ever endured and go mad with torment before the Undying Emperor whispers their name.
Tormenting yourself almost seems to give you pleasure.
Is it possible to experience pleasure if one feels nothing?
Very well, let's just see how impervious to pain you really are. An assortment of small but sophisticated torturer's tools are laid out before you. There's your skin with several chained hooks.
The flesh remains untorn. Good.
Black chains dangle from Cabela's body. They look more like a macabre form of adornment than an implement of torture. Cabela gathers up the chains and pulls them under until her skin goes taut. Stab the sharp prongs of a steel fork beneath her clavicle.
You have found an interesting use for this tool. yet it still serves its purpose.
That is enough.
Do you have other questions?
Your fighting style is unique. Do you think it is something I can learn?
Your body will fail you, Domin. Your bones will break. Your tendons will snap. Your heart will stop. Our rituals of self-perfection are unending. They demand absolute dedication and decades of special training. However, if you devote the next 30 years of your life to its study, you might be able to learn the basics.
Thank you for sharing with me.
It is not difficult to speak the truth.
You torture your own flesh. What is the meaning of this ritual?
Torture? I bear the sacred marks of the Undying One's service. Death has bestowed them upon me. Though others may cherish hollow riches or meaningless beauty, it is my duty to cherish his gift of blood. Each wound is a symbol of our service to him. Each drop of blood carries his blessing. To renounce these scars is to renounce the Undying One himself. Death whispers to me, "You are worthy of bearing his marks." Tell me, Domin, do you wish to honor your flesh with his gifts?
I presume this will not be a painless procedure.
I have not felt pain in a long time. But yes, your body will certainly suffer. Embrace the pain and make it a part of you. It will be your salvation, even on your darkest days.
It would be an honor to bear the mark of the Undying One.
Let it be so. Treasure his gift, Domin. Inscribe it anew each time you pray. May his blessing find you.
Kibella waits patiently as you prepare yourself for the ritual. Once you are ready, she carefully presses her blade to your skin and carves the sacred symbol into your flesh with skillful precision. The wounds sting and burn painfully as they begin to bleed. Did you ever meet Theodora von Valancius?
I met her once when I was young. The Vizier saw a serpent hiding among those close to Domin Theodora, ready to sink its fangs into her throat. I was ordered to find the serpent and sever the soul from its body. I watched and waited for weeks. I hid among the shadows, the air ducts and the faceless masses. Once I found the serpent, I sliced off its head and returned to the temple. I doubt that Domin Theodora ever saw me, but the 3 ritual cuts I left behind on the body let her know that this death was pleasing to him. They sent us a grand feast from the upper decks before the cycle's end. We gave it to the hungry.
You always address me as Domin. What does that word mean?
The Gothic we use to communicate is different to that spoken on the upper decks. Domin has many meanings. Giver of life, Lord or Lady of the Ark, and Shadowless Sun. The matriarch Spider gave this title to the rogue trader who allowed her to form the blood-spun web. We use other titles as well. For example, Venai means Master of the Immaterium, or Watcher of the Veil. Vil means one who must go to the other side. Amik means one you can trust in battle.
If the Undying One whispers my name, will you carry out his will?
If the Undying One chooses to take your soul, he will take mine along with it. You will not fall by my hand, for that is not my duty.
Tell me about the Emperor's Tarot.
I use blood to read his sacred cards and hear the whisper of the Undying One. His tarot is not an answer, but a question I ask of the universe. And the universe answers with questions of its own. In this sacred communion, I perceive hundreds of possible outcomes. They are all true, and yet they are only visions. I know what will come to pass, and yet I do not.
The Emperor's Tarot is usually read by sanctioned psychers.
I am the spear of his retribution, not a witch or a sorcerer or a soothsayer. I have no strange powers, but I do bear his blessing. I do not command the veil. I am guided by his whisper and led by my faith, by the tenets. Please, do not mistake me for something I am not.
You occasionally feel a shiver run down your spine or detect faint sparks in the air when you are standing next to Kabbalah. It seems her powers only manifest when she is practicing divination or in moments of pious exaltation. Kabbalah herself does not seem to be aware of her gift. How did you come to have a deck of his tarot?
It is a holy relic that has been passed down from generation to generation. Only the first and second spinners are allowed to study the sacred cards and interpret their meaning. We use his tarot to guide the cult and discern the tangled threads of fate.
How many cards are in your deck?
34. There used to be more, but some have perished in the darkness of time. Their loss is a great tragedy for the blood-spun web.
Can you give me a reading?
Ask the cards, Domit, and I will listen.
Kabbalah carefully takes out her Imperial Tarot deck. A black blade flashes before your eyes, and blood drips from her palm onto the cards. She closes her eyes and listens. What does the future hold for me? Kabbalah draws 4 cards from the deck and lays them face down before you.
The first card is the young warrior. It suggests inexperience, a path of becoming. The second card is the shattered world inverted. The path will have twists, turns, and thorns, but you will gather allies along the way and find what was lost. The third, the hound inverted. Someone has marked you as their prey and is chasing you through a field of traps. The lost child. You will leap into one of those traps of your own free will and place your trust in someone truly desperate.
I have no questions at this time. Let us speak of something else. Kabbalah stares at you intently, perhaps too intently. She says nothing. I must take my leave.
May the Undying One shroud your footsteps from the faithless.
In the dialogue. So this is not a bad example of one of the kind of the dilemmas I have with this game. I wouldn't want this to be out of the game. I thought it was sufficiently interesting, but that was half an hour of talking with a companion where I'm not really adding anything new to the game. So again, I'm not necessarily saying I will never come back to this game again, but I think where I am right now, I'm gonna change up the rotation a little bit, and we're gonna do something else. I think it might be nice to try and clear out Uncle Chop's Rocket Shop, and I did hear some people ask for some more Zephon. So again, if you like this game, if you like me doing this game, let me know. Right now, I think I'm just going to say this is something that I can do on occasion or maybe as a VOD. But past this point, I think I feel a bit I feel okay putting this on the shelf for a while in favor of other things, maybe things where there's a more clear, kind of a more clear interest. Now, I do see that It Is D-Pain is live and currently playing Spyro 2, so I'm going to leave you in his capable hands. I know there's a few of you around, or at least I hope there's still a few of you around. For my overall plans, I am going to have to get ready for some more Cultist Simulator in, for the YouTube videos. I think I said I would be back for the early August. That is going to be tough with the work stuff. And like I said, I am expecting the next month to be very difficult work-wise. So I'm going to do my best not to let that kind of carry into the stream, but it is the reason why I've been, feeling exhausted. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep. And where I can, I don't want to let that ruin the streams, but on the other hand, I also am mortal and don't always control what happens to me before I hit the go live button. We will do our best, but I also don't believe there are things that will keep me from streaming next week. I think next Monday, sorry, not next Monday, the Monday following next, I believe is a civic holiday. But other than that, I should be doing regular Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays without having to give up the third Wednesday. But we'll figure it all out. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please enjoy It Is D-Pain, and I hope you all have a nice weekend. Until then, take care.